Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
The decision is in. 6 games for Deshaun Watson, barring an appeal by the NFL. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This is the day that we've really been gearing to for, well, since March, whatever day he was traded. March, yes. Whatever, somewhere in March. But the decision is in. Judge Sue L. Robinson writing as part of her decision that there was a pattern of egregious but nonviolent sexual behavior. 6 games, and again, we know now that because there is a suspension, Roger Goodell can appeal. Let's whip right around. Adam the Bull is with us. Let's bring him in first. Adam, you feeling okay?
I'm doing okay right now, Jay.
We're worried about you. You know, we know that you had some kidney stones over the weekend. It scrubbed your trip to Seattle. We hate that. But I just want to point this out. He is in pain. Yeah. He is a gamer. He's playing hurt today. Bull, we couldn't do this show without you. You know that. So we greatly appreciate you doing this for us.
Well, thanks. I didn't want to miss this. Yeah, I had a kid. I'll get to Watson 10 seconds. I had a kidney stone that it was, and I think still is, stuck between my kidney and my bladder. I've been taking medication off and on pain meds. I just took another one now, so we'll see how long I can make it for. But yes, guys, I mean, I think if you're a Browns fan right now, you have to be super duper excited about what has happened here. Now, we understand, as always, that the league can appeal. The Players Union and Deshaun Watson have said they're not going to appeal. But a lot of us speculated 6 to 8 games all along. If it stays at 6 games, the league has 3 days to appeal. That's a huge win for the Browns. I know some people wanted 0. That was never going to be realistic. Judge Robinson stated today that he did violate the personal conduct policy, but the key statement, not enough evidence for a longer suspension, guys.
Right.
So to me, that's big. Hopefully the league doesn't Bigfoot here, and 6 games gets him back for the Ravens and Bengals. That'd be huge.
Well, let's start right there. Tyvis, I'll get your thoughts first. Mm-hmm. Any chance in your mind at all that the league appeals this, knowing that the optics would be overruling a professional here?
I think that the league should just let it stand. I think this is exactly what they wanted. This is why you hired her, to do her job. She came out. She gave a reason to why she gave the 6 games, what it fell in line with. And if I'm Roger Goodell, if I don't really want no scrutiny from the NFLPA, then I would just leave it alone. 6 games seems fair.
Brad?
Well, I say this. I think that the process played itself out the way it was supposed to. I think the facts were made from both sides. Obviously, you had an independent arbiter looking at evidence. And I won't even go down on what happened in Texas. It's really come back out to the same thing. Egregious behavior, but not illegal. So that's
a good point.
That is the crux of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So then I think he gets the 6 games like other players have gotten in the past.
G. Bush, before your thoughts quickly, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up because I think this is all a part of it. Before the announcement was made, before the story leaked that it was 6 games, came word early this morning that Deshaun Watson has settled 3 of the remaining 4 cases. So now there's been settlements on 23. There's 1 case left in the civil, which won't be heard until next March in all likelihood. But apparently there is still 1 holdout who is not ready to take a settlement check. She wants to see this through and have it go all the way. G. Bush, not should the league appeal, because I think everybody here is kind of in the agreement that it's bad optics. Will they appeal based on what you know from Roger Goodell's activity in the past?
They'll mill over it. They'll look at it. I think, you mentioned a poll on Twitter. When asked how many people thought if Deshaun Watson got off too light, was 6 games too light, 77% of the people said yes. The other 23% said no. That type of polling is something that the NFL is using to gauge whether or not we can leave well enough alone, or if we need to have the optics of saying, okay, well, let's go back and revisit this because we may want to fine, because there was no fine in this case either. We want to fine or to revisit it. I think the NFL will look at it for about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And I think they will ultimately come to the conclusion that their best opportunity cost to move on and get this thing out of the picture is to take what Sue Robinson said and leave well enough alone.
As Bull said, they do have 3 days to appeal. Bull, your thoughts on whether or not the league should and will appeal?
I don't think they should. I don't think they will. I don't know why they would. We've talked about all the things that could go bad for them. We know the things with Jerry Jones and all the other owners that have been out there. I think they've made their case, or they didn't make their case. They tried to make their case. They talk tough, so I don't think anybody can really kill the league for not trying to get a longer suspension. They've put that out there. But you've now had two grand juries in Texas say there's not enough evidence to charge him. You've now had a respected former federal judge who spent weeks and weeks, much longer than we all expected, going over the evidence. She wrote a 15-page, whatever it's called, about this case. So what kind of evidence would the league possibly have? If they overstep, it just gets them into a fight with the players union, and this doesn't go away. And if they just let it go, yeah, some people are going to be upset. They'll all get over it. They'll write their stories. They'll complain, and then that'll be that. I don't think they will appeal. I don't think they should.
We've been saying for a month at least that the league enters a really dicey space if they decide to appeal this, because there are a lot of ghosts lurking.
Yes.
And the one thing the NFLPA, I think, managed brilliantly was getting the word out there that if we don't like this decision, we will go to federal court, and we're bringing those skeletons out of the closet. And the skeletons obviously being the past egregious behavior from owners. A lot of these investigations, the public never saw the evidence. But with Deshaun Watson, it was all fair play. We know everything about that. And the other thing, too, that we've been saying, we try to a certain extent to hold our smoke because we really don't know. We've been saying all along, I think it's going to be 6 games, but I don't know. I think it's going to be 8. I don't know. Now, I feel as strongly as I ever have that now that a 25-year retired district judge looked at the evidence. This is the woman, this is the one human being that has seen more about this case than anybody. More than the grand jury saw. Yep. She saw it all. And it's her job to issue fair and judicious rulings. And she says 6 games, so I feel that's good.
Yeah.
I definitely approve of the 6 games. I also, and I'll ask you guys this too, I also feel better about everything, about the Browns' decision to go get him. We had talked, Jason and I were firmly in the camp that if this was a year, this failure, this trade is a failure.
Yeah.
Just because they're built to win now.
Yep.
They're not built to win 3 years from now. So I think that 6 games is good. I feel much more comfortable about the Browns making this move. Let's get this 6 games out of the way. 3-3 is worst case in my book. Yeah. If you go 4-2 and Watson comes back on the field, wow.
So let me just jump in, because you said a couple of things here that have really got me thinking here. So the league was in a bad position from the beginning. The cases in Texas put them in a box. They were already in a box. This is probably the best outcome that the NFL was going to get. You can talk tough all you want, but the facts led you another way. Now, you've had 3 independent groups, 2 grand juries in Texas.
Yeah.
1 federal judge reviewing the same information, coming to the same conclusion. And you said something earlier about the one case that's still left that's a civil case. The only thing you get out of that is money. If you're not getting any jail time out of that, right?
No.
It's a money settlement.
There was never any jail time.
It's a money settlement play here,
right?
The question is, what will Deshaun Watson learn from this nonsense, right? Because it's self-inflicted. It's a self-inflicted wound. I mean, who's running around here doing this, right? Right. If you read,
certainly going to change his massage.
Well,
you see, that
he should be going to get any more massages.
They put it in the thing that Sue said that he can only receive massages from the Browns club. That's it.
That's it. The problem is here. You've got young people, and we were talking about young people with money, right? And access.
Yeah.
And because it is mine.
Yeah. Oh.
What do you tell you? I didn't do anything wrong. And criminally, it appears that he hasn't done anything wrong.
Right.
It's just a questionable thinking.
And Brad, you know what she did? I said it early before we got on here. I said, you know what she exactly did? She sat you down like she was your mother, right? Your mother says, son, now I raised you a certain way, right? And, you know, I've taught you, me and your father did the best we could. Now, you got a lot of money, yes. And we told you when you get that money, what comes along with that. You might not be going to jail, right? You might not be going to jail, and thank God for that. But if you're going to sit here and act like it was not you who brought this on yourself, you got another thing coming. You understand that you can't go around sleeping with all of these women, whether you think they liked it or it was okay for you to do it or not. And when you have that type of behavior and you're doing it in a place of business, you open yourself up for people to come along and do what happens. So, yeah, she gave you 6 games. I'm glad she gave you 6 games. Because if your mother, I gave you 12.
That's exactly what she was
Everybody
saying.
gave you 12.
Exactly
Well
what your
said.
mother was
Well
saying.
said. Because his parents probably, I'm sure his mother is disappointed for sure. His family is disappointed for sure. I think he's learned from this. Anthony, a quick housekeeping bit. McNuggets is home today. He may be joining us from his camera at home. Anthony's in the producer chair.
Hi, everybody.
And Anthony, great to see you. Thanks for filling in the chair. It's time to do a read because we're going to bring in our first guest.
Yeah, so we're bringing in Tim Couch, and every time we bring in a guest, we're bringing him in via the Gridiron Guys hotline. Looking for a local roofer you can trust? Family owned since 2003, the Gridiron Guys have grown to become Northeast Ohio's top-rated roofer. We exemplify quality work practices and are a valued resource for homeowners and offer 10-year workmanship warranty. Call 330-573-7967 today for a free estimate or roof inspection.
Hold on. Grid. Gridiron Guys.
Gridiron Guys.
Yeah. I knew he was going to do it. I knew he was going to give it 100%, and I'm glad that he did.
Hey guys, let me just say, hey Tim, I'm going to say goodbye so you guys can talk to Tim. But let me just say one thing. Josina Anderson just reported now that even though Watson's side of the players' union said they're not going to appeal, as long as the NFL doesn't appeal, obviously. She did say that his side is ultimately unhappy with this because they thought they should have got 0 games. So, that's what they're saying publicly. Who knows what the truth is? So I just thought I'd mention that. And I think in the end, the guys are right. He's got to walk the straight and narrow going forward. The league should leave it alone. I'm going to go rest some more and take a break. I love you guys. I'll see you later in the
Feel
week.
better, Bull.
Feel better, my man.
Bull.
Thank you, Bull. You're a gamer. Feel better, and let us know how it's going later in the day. And I'm trying to get Josina on. We've been texting the last 24 hours. She, ironically enough, today is in Carolina.
Wow.
She's at Panthers camp, and she said she's got a crammed schedule. If she's got any time, she's definitely going to make it for us, and she wants to come on. I'm not surprised that the NFLPA said that. I mean, all along, that was their stand. They argued for 0 games.
Right.
So I know while on one hand it's a win because it's not a season, they wanted nothing, which I don't think was ever an option. But nonetheless, if Josina can wiggle free, she's going to join us. Tim, your immediate reaction to the 6 games?
I think my immediate reaction was it's probably best case scenario for the Browns. You're talking about 6 games. We were all talking, maybe 6 to 8, maybe even an entire season. So I think 6 games, they got to feel like that's probably a win, especially considering, the schedule. I think, Jay, you mentioned it earlier. I think 3-3, 4-2 is very realistic with this team, even without Deshaun Watson. So if they can possibly do that, go 3-3, 4-2, and then put Deshaun Watson back into this lineup, I think that is, absolutely best case scenario. And I think Jacoby Brissett is capable of doing that with this schedule. I think they can get off to a good start. Obviously rely on the running game and play great defense and let Jacoby do his thing, make the plays when they're there, but certainly not ask him to do too much and just hold this thing down until Deshaun's able to come back and take this offense to another level.
Tim, this is interesting because right now Kevin Stefanski knows he has 12 quarters of preseason football to work with.
Right.
Deshaun Watson hasn't played football in 22 months.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett is going to be the captain of this offense for the next 6 weeks. How are you divvying up those quarters of precious preseason football? It would be nice to have 4 games this year. Obviously, they have 3. You've got 12 quarters. How many are you giving to Deshaun? How many are you giving to Jacoby? And who plays that last game?
Yeah, I think that you give Jacoby most of the reps with the ones. I think you get Deshaun in there and just let him get some game reps. Let him feel the speed of the game again. Let him take a couple hits. Because like you said, he hadn't played in over a year. So I think I would probably lean more towards getting Jacoby ready because these 6 games are extremely important, and he's going to be your guy for those 6 games. So if I'm Jacoby, I want those reps. I feel like Stefanski feel like that's who he needs to get ready within the system. So I think he's going to lean more towards getting Jacoby those reps, and then just bringing Deshaun in as he can, and getting him as getting a feel for the game and getting a feel for this system as well.
Now, Tim, you obviously being a quarterback, I think the suspension allows him to go through the preseason, but when the season starts, he needs to sit out and can't show up to the facility for the first 3 games. And then after those 3 games, he can come on back and be part of the team. As a quarterback, if you were Deshaun Watson, what would your schedule be, and how would you plan on staying ready to play and throwing and doing? What would you do in those 3 weeks? And how would you get acclimated? Would you throw with receivers? What would that process be?
Yeah, if it were me, I would get with I'm sure he's got a private quarterback coach that he works with in the offseason. Most of these guys do nowadays. So I would probably go somewhere and get with my quarterback coach, make sure there were some quality receivers that I could throw to on a daily basis, and just try to stay as mentally and physically sharp as you can. I would be watching a lot of film. I would be in the playbook. I would be, almost preparing as if you're the backup, that you're going to be in at any time, and just so you're always prepared to play. I think those 3 weeks can go by really quickly, so you got to stay ready. Stay like you're grinding, like you're getting ready to play a game. I think that's the way I would probably treat it. But certainly I would have a coach around me, making sure that my fundamentals were staying sharp. You watching me throw, making sure that I'm somebody pushing me, making sure I got good wide receivers out there to that are NFL speed. So you're used to the speed, so it's not a big adjustment when you come back. So just getting with the right people around you, and just continuing to work hard and getting prepared like you're getting ready to play.
Okay, Tim, hang on with us because we've got more for you on the other side of DeQuell Jackson. DeQuell joins us now. I guess we only have 5 minutes. First of all, DeQuell, thanks for coming on. Obviously, you're in your vehicle, so I know you've got a lot of things going on. Your first reaction to the 6 games?
I thought it came as a surprise for me. I was one of those people that thought the NFL was going to have push their influence on this, and he was ultimately would get a year suspension. But clearly, the facts and what Sue Robertson came up with, she chose the right length of a suspension in 6 games. I think now don't hear me out on this. I think it's a win for the front office and the Cleveland Browns. They decided to take a chance on a guy that obviously can still play the game, but obviously there was a lot of so I think this is the first step out of those guys. Could take a little bit of weight off their shoulders, but it's still not over. But again, I think it's a win for the Browns. I do think as far as Deshaun Watson, he has to really think about what's next for him, really learn from this situation to avoid it, because next time there won't be a next time. Next time you shouldn't expect a next time. So this is it. This should be one of those things that never happen again, and hopefully he learns from it.
Let me ask you this, DeQuell. You said that you're surprised that the NFL didn't assert their influence a little more on the decision. That gets me to my next point, which is obviously the league still has 3 days to appeal this decision. And per the NFL bargaining agreement with the Players Association, if Roger wants to, he can be the sole arbiter, or he can appoint someone else. If you're surprised by this, then are you expecting the league to go through with that appeal process, or do you think they'll let this stand?
That's a great question. In this situation, I think they will let it stand. I think they've had enough of the back and forth, all the media outlets talking about it. Obviously, it's given a black eye, a stain to the shield, and that's first and foremost what Roger Goodell and the ownership, that's what they want to protect. So I don't think they would appeal it. However, this is what this collective bargaining agreement wanted. They wanted a third party to put their eyes on it, evaluate the facts of the matter, and listen, 6 games is lengthy, but we can still expect him to play this year. At what level, we don't know, because he hasn't played in forever. But again, in this case, if I'm the NFL, I don't want this thing to push out any further, because now we're talking about another year and a half of litigation and the courts back and forth and reliving these situations all over again. I think in this case, the NFL, if they're smart, I would just move on from this and just agree with the findings of Sue Robertson.
So this is to Tim and DeQuell. So as a person who's been in the union of the professional football, professional sports organization, the union, tell me, when you're paying your dues to the Players Association, do you feel like the Players Association is ready to go to the mat for a player? Because sometimes we pay those dues, they don't want to go to the mat. They're just doing the dance. Today was the day you're going to have to go to the mat. The NFL in my position, guys, was in a position where they better take this and just run, because it's all bad from down here because it can get ugly. Do you feel like the Players Association was really ready to go to the mat?
Yeah, I'll take it. I do think, the NFLPA and DeMaurice Smith, that this is why you pay those dues. This is why you have those guys in place to be able to litigate and be able to make sense of all of this. Because as a player, honestly, we've talked about this before on the show. There's been no consistency in terms of a guy being involved in the situation, whether he was found guilty or innocent, or even if it applied to the ownership. So we all knew as players, at least when I played, in my opinion, there was a different set of rules for ownership as there were for players. But I do think in this case, the NFLPA did have a case on their hands of taking this to the max. And that's what you would hope. That's what every player would hope if they're in a situation like this, that they have the proper representation. And I do have faith in DeMaurice Smith and the union of what they were willing to work up to if they didn't get the outcome they expected.
Tim?
Yeah, I would agree with DeQuell. I think in this situation, I think they went above and beyond for Deshaun, and that's exactly what you would hope for. You pay those dues and you want that type of representation. So I would completely agree with everything he said. Really not much to add to that. I think he was right on point, and they did a great job for Deshaun. And, if I was in that situation or any other player was in that situation, that's exactly what you would hope the union and NFLPA would do for you as well.
All right, so for y'all being former players, me being with y'all in this category, we know how real them joint practices get. And I do believe the Browns have a joint practice this season. I can't remember who it's against. But if you're Kevin Stefanski, how do you split those reps? Does Deshaun Watson get all of those practice reps because that will be considered a game for him? Or do you still continue to split those reps up with Jacoby Brissett, and then go to the game and split them up in the game as well?
Hey, Tim, I'll defer to you on this. You're the quarterback, man.
Okay, all right. I think you give Jacoby most of them, man. He's going to be your starter week one, so you got to get a guy ready to play. You know exactly how many games you're expecting him to play, and he's got 6 weeks to go out and win football games for this team. So I think you lean more towards getting Jacoby game ready. With the fact you got to sprinkle some Deshaun in there as well to get him reps and keep him fresh and as well, because like we said, he hasn't played all of last season, so he certainly needs reps as well. But I think the most pressing issue is getting Jacoby ready to go week one and making sure that you don't those 6 games that Deshaun's out, you have to win at least 3 of those to stay relevant and have an opportunity to go and try to make a playoff run. So I think you get Jacoby as ready to go as you can and get him feeling comfortable within the system and getting out there with those first team guys and being in the huddle with Chubb and Amari Cooper and all those guys that he's going to be out there with week one and getting him as comfortable as possible.
Absolutely. Hey, DeQuell, I know you have to go. Thank you very much for sticking in with us, and we'll see you on your regularly scheduled time later this week.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Always
DeQuell.
good.
Appreciate it.
See you later on.
We're going to bring in Josina Anderson now, who I mentioned was she's at Panthers camp. We're in the process of getting her linked up right now. So as soon as she's up, that's going to happen. I think the joint practice this year is with the Eagles.
Yeah.
We called up the preseason schedule. Not that it matters, because in the preseason, you don't know who you're going to see. You don't know if the team that you're seeing is even going to play a lot of their starters. Last year, I think the league trend was to lay off on the starters. I mean, we saw Kevin Stefanski barely used his skills players. I'm wondering if that's going to change this year, because this preseason is unlike any they've had in recent years. And you could argue this is one of the most important preseasons for the Browns.
Right.
In decades, because you have to get one quarterback ready that is new to the system and will play for 6 games, and you have to get another quarterback ready that is new to the system and hasn't played football in nearly 2 years.
I think you have to. I think you have to utilize them, not just the quarterback position, but your receivers as well. We still don't understand what's going on.
You want them with the ones.
Yeah, you got to see what your receivers is going to do. We got all these guys that's missing time right now. They, as Brad would say, dropping like flies. Right. We got to get some of these guys in there to see if they can make plays against these ones. So I think those joint practices hold a lot of weight.
Tim, when you look at the preseason, I mentioned that it is only 3 games. If you're either guy, if you're Jacoby or if you're Deshaun, are you lobbying with Stefanski for how much time you want, when you want to play, who gets that last game? Do they get the entire game? How are you approaching it with your coach?
You know, I think there has to be an open line of communication between coach and player in this situation. You know, I think Jacoby and Coach Stefanski have to really be on the same page. How do you feel right now? How do you feel within this offense? Are you feeling comfortable, you know, getting the plays called in the huddle, going up to the line of scrimmage? If you have to audible, do you feel comfortable getting the team in and out of the right play? Do you feel comfortable, the line protection, sliding the line, you know, getting yourself protected? How comfortable you are with the, you know, this going on in game rep situation, you know, that game speed? So there has to be that line of communication there with those guys. And if you're not comfortable, you need to say, hey, coach, I need more reps. I need to feel, you know, more game speed reps. And let me get up to the line of scrimmage with the play clock running down and see if I can audible, get us in and out of the right play. Let me change the protection at the line of scrimmage. So you have to be real honest with your coach in that situation. If you feel like you need more time, then you definitely need to tell him.
All right, Tim, stick around again. We're going to bring in Josina Anderson now on the Gridiron Guys hotline. Josina, thanks so much for making time with us. I know that you're in Carolina today. You're going to be at Panthers camp later. First of all, I wanted to get your reaction to the news of 6 games, how that's being perceived by those that you've talked to around the league. And also, it's going to be a wild guess, but the likelihood that this gets appealed by the NFL.
So I would say first and foremost, obviously this is a long time coming. We've been waiting fairly a long while for Sue Robinson to give this decision. So finally D-Day is here, and we hear per her, review that she feels it should be 6 games. Now, a lot of people were trying to figure out, why this took so long when you think about the fact that the post-hearing briefs were, at least per the CBA language, only slated to be just 5 games. And the thing about why it also took long, I think, is 2 reasons. One, because she had to really pour over thousands, hundreds, or however many, just a lot of pages of evidence from both sides, and really consider that carefully. And the other part of this, I think a little bit more free to talk about it, though not too much in detail, is that there were intermittent talks behind the scenes relative to still trying to see if they could reach a settlement, even beyond what ESPN was reporting last night as far as some of the things that went back and forth. So I do think that was part of it. I think last week when I reported that it was possible that you would get a hearing, I think that was the case because they were just kind of seeing how it was going to go, and the opportunity was still provided to come to that. Now, relative to my reaction, I think it is notable that it comes from a neutral arbitrator, and the neutral arbitrator is also a woman, and it also is notable from the fact that when you think about all of the thrust, in the public hemisphere relative to the emotions of this decision, she really did have the courage to be able to go way the other way without, much, refutation, so to speak, at least in the public hemisphere. So the fact that she was on the other side of the median relative to what, a season long would have been and what the average would have been in the middle of that, and the fact that she was on the other side of that, I think, is notable. What I am trying to hear is a couple of things. One, if the 6 games, when we have the opportunity to, hear more about the written ruling or read it ourselves, is to see if the 6 games signifies anything. And the reason why I say that is because if you go in the personal conduct policy and you look at the discipline section, there is a section that talks about having a baseline suspension of a minimum of 6 games if it involves certain types of conduct, including, sexual misconduct or what have you. So it'd be interesting to see, per her logic, if that's why she was in that realm, or if she just arrived there based on other logic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Go ahead, G. Bush.
Well, Josina, when you look at the ruling, you just laid out eloquently that she's looked at this. She's given it time. She is a woman. She is a former federal prosecutor. She's a former judge. Now, the thought process is, if she has taken the thought and time and been very judicious with coming up with this 6-game suspension and verdict, can the NFL afford to say, well, thank you for your time. That was nice, but we're deciding to take it into our own hands and go the opposite way and issue another verdict and maybe add some games on. Can they afford to do that in the public sphere?
So I think there's a difference between can and should. Can they do it? Yes. The NFL has proven that they can do whatever it wants, and a lot of times has done whatever it wants, especially when you're also looking at the discipline relative to the owners. Though we note, especially with me covering the Panthers today, that, the former owner of this team did, lose his ownership of the team. Though on the other side of that spectrum, you've had people like Robert Kraft, who did not receive any discipline after being charged for misdemeanor prosecution charges, which were dropped. So yes, it can. Now, the question is, should it? Now, you talk about that with the fact that this is Sue Robinson's first high-profile case and first case ever underneath this new process. And so by doing that, if the NFL chooses, would effectively and optically be undermining, Sue Robinson in the first case. And that is something that they also have to consider. But from my experience, I've covered the NFL 20 years now, and, from doing many of these cases from all, name a player, I've covered it. One thing I do know is that the NFL always licks the finger figuratively, puts it in the air, and they read the pulse of how things are being read. They do that. So I do think that they're going to take some little bit of time to kind of figure out after they have, the opportunity to read over it and determine what they're going to do. But they will take into account how the pulse of it, how it's being reacted to.
And to that point, and I know you have to go, so this will be the last question. I don't know that you've had the opportunity to talk to many folks in the league, associated with the league. And I'm talking about players, coaches, general managers, executives, anybody. The conversations that you've had here in the last 2 hours, since we've known that it's 6 games, do you get a general sense on which way that wind vane is blowing? It was too harsh, it was too lenient, or it was just right? What's been the consensus?
So at least relative to just kind of reading the reaction, I haven't been, able to be on the phone with a whole bunch of people yet because I'm trying to cover Deshaun Watson and the Panthers at the same time right now. But what I can say is that I feel that whatever corners people were in before, they're still in, and that sentiment is represented over whatever this decision came in being 6 games. What I will add to that via my reporting over the last half an hour, and I just tweeted this out, that even though the 6 games fall short, far short rather, of the indefinite suspension minimum of a year that the league was seeking, that my understanding, or I'm told, that Deshaun Watson's side still remains very displeased with the 6 games ruling because they remain adamant that it should have been 0 games. So while the notification did come out from the NFLPA last night that the NFLPA and Deshaun Watson intend to abide by Sue Robinson's ruling, and I still do believe that to be the case right now, I still think it is judicious and prudent to wait for the decision from the NFL to see what it is going to do, because obviously it's 6 games now, but that's not necessarily where it might stay. So let's hear what that is and what they're advocating for or not, and then let's come back to that.
Yeah, and so basically we're still in a 72-hour holding pattern to see whether or not the league is going to appeal this decision. As you said, can they? Yes. Will they? Remains to be seen. But you're right. As far as the league having their ear to the fandom of the NFL, that's very much a real thing. They are listening to reaction. They are gauging reaction. Whether or not that influences their decision to appeal or not, we'll find out. Hey, listen.
We'll just
go ahead.
Quickly, just because, yes, we're waiting for the 3 days. They have up to 3 days to submit an appeal, and then even after that, we would know if they do that or not. But then per the language of the CBA, there's supposed to be a response to that within 2 days. So this whole process of the portion that we're in theoretically could take up to 5 days.
All right, very good. Josina Anderson, I know you're crammed today. Thank you very much for making time for your old friend, and we will talk soon. And let us know how Panthers camp goes. We're all kind of looking at that from a distance.
I'm sure Baker Mayfield is waiting for me to ask. Yes, I am waiting for a huge eye roll and then followed by a coy smile. So I'll see, but I'll let you know on Twitter.
I will say this: no one asked those questions more tactfully than Josina Anderson. Josina, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
No question, one of the best in the business. She is always on top of these stories, and she's on top of this one as well. So, Tim, her point is, and it's what we were saying, is yes, the league can. Will they? Who knows? But she makes clear the fact that when these kinds of things happen, Roger Goodell and his brilliant communications team and his PR team, they are gauging everything, and they're trying to find out what the general consensus is to this reaction. In your history, in your experience, and just even as a fan watching these things in the past, how likely is it, do you think, that the commissioner uses all of this intel from how we're reacting collectively in weighing his final options and whether or not he'll appeal?
Yeah, I think Josina made a great point there. That's a very realistic thing, that they are going to see what the reaction is, from the NFL fan base, and especially, the women. They're trying to, raise they're trying to get more women on board watching the NFL. How do they react to this decision? So I think that's going to play a very big role in it. We've seen it happen in the past too, of just fan reaction to certain situations. We've seen it in a lot of different ways, and we've seen the NFL react to it. So they definitely have an eye on how people are reacting, and we'll see over the next couple of days how they go with this one. So,
Tim, looking at it, we're gonna put you on the spot here a little bit. Now that Deshaun Watson is out 6 games, it's a lot of people that was running around hiding from it. Are the Browns a playoff team, Tim? You got the 6 games, the schedule, right. Jacoby Brissett. When you look at this team top to bottom for 2022, do you think the Browns will make the playoffs?
I really do. I think this is a playoff caliber team. I think, you look at the roster top to bottom, it's as talented as about any team in the league, on paper. Can they get through these first 6 games with Jacoby Brissett? I think so. I think that they can win 3. I'm totally on board with what Jay said earlier in the show. 3 wins, maybe even 4 with that schedule. I look at, what makes me so confident in that is the way we're able to run the football, obviously, with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, probably the best 1-2 punch in all of pro football, maybe the best offensive line in pro football. So the pressure is not going to be on Jacoby Brissett. There are so many other guys that can take that pressure off of him, so he can just go out, and he's proven he can go out and win games in this league. He's a serviceable guy. He can throw the football. He can make good decisions. He's a good football player, so they can win games with Jacoby Brissett. They're just going to have to rely heavily on this run game. They're going to have to rely heavily on that defense and Myles Garrett and that crew to get after guys and shut people down. But I think this is a playoff team, especially when Deshaun Watson comes back. If he is the Deshaun Watson that we've seen his whole career, then absolutely this team is a playoff caliber team, and Deshaun can really elevate them and take them to a whole other level.
So, Tim, and as I listen to you speak, in sports, sometimes when we look at the schedule, we try to break the schedule down and see which games are winnable and which ones are not. So I heard you say that earlier. So let's go through the first 6 games. If you say we got to win 3 games and be in the hunt, give me the 3 that we should.
Anthony, can you put the schedule back up so we can see it?
That we should circle to win, right? And if we lose one of those, that means we got to go get one of the other 6.
That's right. So I think week 1 they beat Carolina. I think Carolina's they're going to get after. If it's Baker Mayfield, the Browns are going to be extra motivated in that game, especially, to get after him and create some turnovers. I think they win that one. The Jets, I definitely think, we all saw the Jets last year. I think the Jets is a winnable game. Pittsburgh, that game, that's a home game. Pittsburgh's going to be breaking in a new quarterback. So, I mean, you've got to think at home, that's an opportunity to win that game. Atlanta, Atlanta's a winnable game as well. No Matt Ryan, that's an opportunity that's on the road, but that's that's another opportunity there. I think the toughest game out of that stretch obviously will be Pittsburgh at home, a rivalry game. It's always going to be tough. Then the Chargers, I don't think they win that game without Deshaun Watson. LA's a heck of a football team. I don't think they can win that one. New England is obviously always good. A playoff team a year ago, so that would probably one I would say could go either way. If I had to pick right now, I would say that I would probably lean towards New England on that game without Deshaun Watson. So, but the other games that I mentioned, I think are, that's 3 or 4 wins right there that I think they can certainly go out and get.
So you're looking at, Tim, you're looking at the 3 wins come in the first 4 games, if I hear you correctly.
Yeah,
right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. So, and then that means for Stefanski on the other side, if we drop one of those games, you got to go get a game, right?
You got to go get one. You got to be.
You got to go get someone somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
We, as fans, we should be looking to say, come out of this at least 3-3.
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's
4-2 would be great, but 3-3 is the baseline.
I think 3-3 is very manageable. You give a Deshaun Watson a 500 football team when he comes back and say, go out and win games for us now, get us to the playoffs. You give yourself an opportunity. You don't want to give Deshaun Watson a football team that's 1-5 or something like that. That's an impossible situation for anyone. So, I think if they can go 3-3, or especially, yeah, exactly.
Don't even put that in the atmosphere.
Yeah. Exactly. But, I think Deshaun Watson, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm saying, if I come back to this team and we're 3-3, especially if we're 4-2, it's go time, man. I feel extremely confident that I can take this team to the playoffs and pick up where Jacoby left off and take this offense to a whole other level from what they were doing.
We talked about this so much, but that first game, Carolina, we know that Baker's going to come out and he's going to have smoke coming out of his ears.
Absolutely.
We always talk about players and guys meeting the moment. This is the moment. I mean, I don't think there could be a bigger game 1 unless it was maybe against Pittsburgh. Like, all eggs in on this basket. You have to, and because it's the launching pad of the season, if you do somehow lose that game, then you're in a train wreck of a situation.
It'll be deflated if they lose.
Now you got to go 4-1 with 3 really good teams in that 5-game stretch. That first game is going to be as big a season opener as I can remember.
Well, that's a smoke game, right? And so, in the words of Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies, we want the smoke. We running up the chimney looking for the smoke, right? So, I mean, if you gotta even have a pulse to be in that game, and you're not there, something is wrong. You're gonna know from day one something is wrong.
Yeah. Tim, you don't need a fire-up speech for this one, do you?
No, absolutely not. I think Baker will probably say enough during the week that he's going to get fired up himself. We all know Baker. He's going to say something that pisses off the Browns defense. So Myles Garrett and those guys are going to be ready. Baker's going to be ready. I can't wait to watch it. I've been looking forward to an opening game like this in a long time. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and super excited about it.
Yeah, as they say, get your popcorn ready. And Baker's going to Baker.
Ready, that's right.
He will give the Browns bulletin board material.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just who he is. That's what motivates him. And we'll see whether or not he can carry that fiery streak into Carolina.
Let me give some hand sanitizer. That game going to be dirty.
Yeah, it is going to be dirty.
Real dirty.
It is.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, I'm
That's
ready.
a Purell game.
That Purell game, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Tim, thanks so much. Before we let you go, we've all heard about the terrible disaster in southeast Kentucky, which, of course, is your home. I know you live in Lexington now, but you were born and raised in Leslie County. The death toll is approaching 30. I know that hits in the heart of where you were. Is your family okay? What can you tell us about how your hometown was hit?
Well, it's been absolutely devastating, Jay, and I really appreciate you asking about it and bringing some awareness and hoping that people, if you have an opportunity, if you feel like you can, to help give and donate goods and things like that. There's all kinds of websites. You can go to arh.org and donate, places like that. So we've been really helping out as much as we can. I was able to went to a fundraiser on Saturday for Coach Stoops here for a UK event, and we had a little thing on the side to raise money for that. We were able to raise $25,000 to send to them. And help out as much as we can. I've taken supplies, water, towels, cleaning supplies, canned goods, everything we can.
So you've been to the area then?
I haven't been to the area. I've taken it to the drop-off location here in Lexington, where the vans ship it down. But my family is everyone is doing okay. I had one cousin that pretty much lost his house. The water was almost over his roof. Wow. So it was just absolutely devastating. But it's unbelievable what's happened there, man. And it's it's gonna be a very tough rebuild for that area of Kentucky. So we're all trying to do as much as we possibly can. And I appreciate you asking about it, Jay.
Absolutely, Tim. And I started my career there, spent 3 years there. First met Tim there, covering him as an 8th grader playing varsity sports. The people of that area are absolutely salt of the earth, some of the best people I've ever known. We're praying for you. We're thinking about you. And to Tim's point, ARH.com. If you can help with supplies, with money, I have a lot of friends that are still in the area that are doing everything they can to help the cleanup. It is terrible, and we're thinking about the area. Tim, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great week.
Tim Couch. Leroy in the portal. All right, Leroy Hoard, your first reaction to 6 games. What do you think?
I think that the arbiter and Sue Robinson tried to do 2 things. She tried to identify what the issues were in this case, while also identifying that the league had no case. Now, Deshaun Watson has to be responsible for putting himself in that situation, but the NFL can't come down so heavy-handed just to make themselves look better. And so that is kind of where she came with the ruling. I'm okay with it. And I think part of the reason why I'm okay with it is because the league wanted a year, and that was just ridiculous, right? And so we tend to think, because look, this case became less about truth or innocence and more about how it looked.
So true.
And I'm going to tell everybody in this world, if you had to live by those set of rules, you wouldn't be able to function. If all of the decisions made against you were not based on what happened, but how it looks. Take it from a black man. You don't want that smoke on you. Mm-hmm. I've had friends that I grew up with, family members. You don't want that. So I've always been a person that has sat back and tried to evaluate what the truth was and tried to come up with a solution based on facts. We didn't get there, but I can say that Deshaun Watson has some culpability in this situation.
But you think 6 games is still just overly punitive?
I think it is, but because the NFL came out with such a big number, it doesn't seem like that much.
So they set the bar super high in hopes of getting to where we are now. And on the flip side, though, the NFLPA was asking for no games, and they've already come out and said they're not happy that there was any games. They wanted 0, but they said they're not going to appeal.
Right. Here's the problem with this whole situation. Let's keep it real. Let's evaluate what happened. Okay. First, before we even knew innocence or guilt, we had that number.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that number looks bad. Okay, but that number wasn't a result of women coming forward. That was a result of a lawyer trying to make his case. See, we overlooked that because guess what? When it was time to prove their case in front of the NFL, they didn't even bring all those women.
Right.
They brought 5. Mm-hmm. So they got to cherry pick the ones that they thought would make the best case. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson has to deal with all of the women. And so, although, again, he did put himself in that situation, and there could be some things that happen, it got lost in all of the stuff surrounding the actual truth or innocence of the crimes. Mm-hmm. Okay, and part of that is because let's look at what everybody's job is. Okay, the NFLPA is to make sure that Deshaun Watson is penalized according to the NFL rules and not heavy-handed suspension by the league. The league is coming out saying it's our job to make the league look good and make sure that we don't get caught up in this nonsense of we're going easy on our players, right? It's the lawyers' responsibility of the plaintiffs to get as much money as possible. None of these situations are about truth or innocence. None of them. And so from that standpoint, we have a whole situation where accusations have been serious accusations have been brought upon a player, and none of the conclusions surrounding it are based on whether he did anything.
Leroy, you're absolutely correct. I'm going to tell you this, and we could get down to the brass tacks of it. There's a lot of people that's sitting on here on Twitter talking about he should have got more, should have did this, should have did that. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's be clear. Let's be clear. When people get ready to really cast their vote on things that they think matter, like presidents, they have no problem with it. 26 allegations, no problem. And we had to find somebody to get with Deshaun Watson. The man that I'm talking about said it himself. He said on All Access, this is what I do, right? So now he's probably going to be up for election again. He'll run again. So now people have no problem when it comes to tax breaks, when it comes to ideology, when it comes to regulations of people that are going to be in office that affect their bottom line. They have no problem for it. But all of a sudden, do we think it's kind of rare that we see a young African-American black quarterback who all of a sudden 24 allegations and we need to talk about it? The reality is the situation is this. When you look a certain way, when you are a certain way, the rules are a certain way. And when you say it's just the look of it, that is even more damning that you, as an individual, you are admitting that I don't care about what's reality. I just care how it looks. That's what you're admitting.
But that's a lot of this situation is that way. And look, I'm not one of those people that if anything had been found, if guilt had been found, I would have been, on my soapbox. This can't happen. Okay, this can't happen. He needs to be held accountable. But I find it weird in our society that the people who have the most impact on what goes on in this country aren't held as accountable as an NFL quarterback. That's the problem. That's the problem. If Deshaun Watson did anything wrong, he should be penalized for it. If it could be proven, he should be penalized for it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, every time we hear a story or an accusation, if it's an athlete, we deem that so much more terrible than the people who actually have an impact on what goes on in this country. And look, Charles Barkley said it right. We are not role models, okay? Don't turn on the TV to find some inspiration for your kid. If we can help, if our path, and I tell people all the time, I'm not your role model, but if you can learn something from the path that I took to get where I am, then I'm going to do everything I can to help. But I'm not going into living my life thinking that I have to be a beacon for all the other young people in the world. I got 2 kids of my own. I got a hard enough time teaching them. So I'm doing it because that's what kind of person I am. Not because I feel obligated to do so. And let's not get that confused. Let's not think because he played football, it means he's a certain type of person. There are jackasses in every walk of life. Let's not stop. Just because he does this means he's good. Just because he does that means he's bad. Get over yourself. That's not the way the world works, but we tend, it's a cop-out for us. as a society, that's the easy place to go, is to just sit back, not be seen. None of these people don't have a face on it. I'm putting my face on it. I put my face on it the whole time about questions about innocence or guilt. Questions about what's going on and how this is going to be handled. Because I was just as confused as everybody else. But we deal with, on a daily basis, all of us who's sitting, you guys talking, and include myself, have to deal with people that don't have to put a face on those comments.
Right.
And I'm willing to do it because it ain't coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of real. This is the stuff that people have to deal with on a regular basis. And I'm going to tell you, you don't ever want to be declared innocent or guilty because of an accusation. You don't. We have a system in place for that. If you don't agree with the system, you have every opportunity to change the system. But after the fact, don't go and complain about how things work.
Right.
As a black man, I'm just asking to be able to go through that procedure and not be deemed innocent or guilty before you've had one bit of evidence.
Right.
And
so
unfortunately,
that's where we are. Deshaun just wanted to go away now. Let's just be done with it and move on.
And unfortunately, Leroy, in this instant gratification, instant reactive society,
right,
as soon as something hits Twitter, I saw people digging into the camp, rapist, banned for life. What do you know about the case?
Right.
That's why, even though we've had to fill a lot of airtime and we're discussing this case, the one thing that we've tried to be very careful in doing throughout is to say, ultimately, let's just hold fire until the true expert, and there's one. Sue Robinson was named by the league as the disciplinary officer. She's been immersed in this case for months. She had the hearing. She read the briefs. She thoughtfully weighed all the evidence. There's no one else that can say that. She's seen more than anyone has seen. And what she ultimately came up with is Deshaun's behavior was egregious, but was nonviolent sexual behavior. So he's got kinks, apparently. That's what we're hearing. And because he's an NFL player, and because he's got morals clauses, and he is looked upon as someone who has to only be doing positive things for the league, suddenly everybody wanted to throw darts and to prematurely convict him of something they really knew very little about. Now the expert has spoken. It's 6 games. Whether or not it'll be appealed, we'll know in the next 72 hours. But other than that, it's time to move on.
So Leroy, let me say this because I wholeheartedly agree with you. Right? You have a young man, first of all, who I hope has learned a great lesson from this entire thing. Right?
Yeah, you got to learn from it.
You got to learn from this now because
you got to learn from it.
Yeah, because this world is wicked if you allow it to be. The facts take you where they take you. And the facts here, when I see guys like Ryan Clark jump online and start talking nonsense about, you better have all the facts in front of you, right? Because what's out in the atmosphere that you may know in the public sphere may be far different from what the facts are, right? And so here's a chance. Here's a chance for a learning lesson for not just Deshaun Watson, but the people running the league here, right? Because I agree with Leroy. We should not be holding people accountable because what you fear somebody else may say, right? You don't know anything about the facts here.
Yeah,
right?
that's not justice.
Right? Because if there was some real facts, he'd be in jail right now. They would have brought a case in Texas twice. Long time ago.
And he was twice cleared by grand juries.
Right. And so here, the 2 grand jury cases, Leroy, and then the judge comes in and basically validates the 2 grand jury cases down in Texas. Right? So what is the deal here? What are we doing here? They were talking about 12 games, $8 million fine. First of all,
they were talking indefinite.
I said, $8 million fine? The fine is the suspension of the games. That's the fine.
He's missing checks.
I said, what are you talking about here? Right? This is all nonsense.
To be clear, the amount of money that he'll miss in salary for this is around $250,000.
Yeah, because the way he
$300,000.
structured the deal.
Right, and but we have already heard that the league was not happy at all with the way the deal was structured because they felt that it was a workaround to what they knew was coming. That's why I did think that we may see a fine, and it's possible that Roger Goodell could say this: we're going to appeal the decision. We are. And I'm ruling. I'm because he's going to be the judge, juror, and execution.
Yeah.
He could say we're sticking with the 6 games, but I'm throwing a fine on of X.
And then that's when it gets.
And we'd have to live with it, guys.
No, because then they get a chance to take it further.
Well,
right?
they could sue in federal court.
It had to come in. The ruling had to come in this week for them to go to federal court. That is in.
Yes.
So now you go down. You're going to open up a can of worms here that you might not want. Here,
no, well, we know that we know the league doesn't want that smoke.
So Leroy, tell me this, Leroy. Like, so do you feel like I think the NFL is just posturing because they don't want any part of this smoke because this can lead you down a road that could come back to haunt you for decades.
Hey, I don't want the NFL judging on my cases without facts. And I'm more than sure the NFL don't want Congress having meetings and having them sitting in front of Congress over some board asking questions, because they don't ever end up being about what you in there for. So I know they don't want that smoke, because guess what? If you go to take it to that level, you know what's going to happen. They're going to start questioning all of the acts of the owners.
You know, so then let's hear.
Right. So there's a lot that goes into this. I think a good result is when neither side is happy. Right? I think both sides, but see, Deshaun Watson is not happy because he don't feel he did anything.
Right.
The league is not happy because it doesn't look like they came down with a heavy hand. There's a distinct difference between what the two are unhappy about. Because if you're protecting, the morality of the league, right? You should be far from the organization that hands down punishment based on what it looks like.
Amen.
Right?
And
like,
that should and
be
you're
so
right.
far away from that.
And Leroy, especially when they've had the opportunity to go before Sue and put their evidence out there.
Right.
And we heard the NFLPA was leaking to the Associated Press and others that they had no evidence of coercion. They had no evidence of any sexual activity that was forced on anybody. And to your point, I think the smartest point that we've heard today is, why can't we have a justice system where it's actually decided not on optics, not on what the public wants? The public doesn't know all the evidence. Sue Robinson does. 2 grand juries in Texas did. All 3 now have come out and said, no criminal activity, some kink and some egregious behavior, but nonviolent and certainly not criminal. So how that raises even to 6 games, I can understand why Deshaun Watson's camp is upset.
I disagree because the NFL had the same notes. They know what happened.
Yes, that's why they're upset.
Everybody knows what happened.
That's why they're upset.
So why are you sitting out here talking about 12 games and $8 million? You already knew what happened, right?
They had the chance to prove
now,
it.
Now, to Leroy's point, Deshaun Watson is paying the price for being dumb. That's what he's paying the price for. Those are the 6 games.
You mean
for putting yourself in the position for this to even occur.
Right.
This is your penalty.
You got to have. Look, he's got to understand that the position he holds in the league is going to be seen as above everybody else, and his behavior is going to always, be under a microscope. It was before this situation. It will definitely be after. That's just the nature of that $230 million contract. If he was making $230,000, we wouldn't be having this long conversation.
He was until the Kyler Murray deal, the highest paid player in the league. And if you go by guaranteed money, he is still the highest paid player in the league.
Right.
And with that comes different responsibilities, different levels of expectation.
So that's part of it. But more important to me is that we all need to learn from this, from players, the league, to understand what situations, what circumstances can get your players in these situations, and learn from it. And learn from it, because guess what? I don't care how innocent Deshaun Watson is. People are out there saying it doesn't matter if you didn't do anything. I'm going to make it look so bad that you got to settle with me. Or I'm going to make it look so bad that you get in trouble.
Right.
Because I don't like you no more. Or our relationship is over, or whatever. And you just got to be careful for those landmines. You see, now with Deshaun Watson, he kind of, put himself in the situation where this could happen. Right?
Right.
So but even if nothing happened, he put himself into a situation where, like, somebody, a lawyer, got all these women together, right? Compared notes and say, hey, let's go get him civilly. So again, he has some culpability in this. I don't know if I would have suspended him 6 games, but that's because I'm a player. I'm also a black man. I understand that if ever I get caught up in some stuff, I want the facts to speak for themselves, not the feelings. Right?
That's what he's
one of the
preaching.
things why, and to know where I'm coming from, I told you how I felt about G. Bush's article, and why was that? Facts. Like I don't like coming out of a situation where the facts didn't matter.
They should always matter. It should be about the truth.
We know the same amount about this situation now as we did before it started, and that's nothing.
Well, but Leroy, I would say we actually know this. We know that a person whose career, a person who rose to the top of her profession, a person whose job it is to weigh evidence, we know that she looked at it as thoroughly as any case she ever had, and she's made her ruling. So at least we know that. Nobody other than the grand juries and maybe the attorneys involved in both sides and Sue Robinson know everything. But now she does. And so that's why the public has to, we may not like it. We may think it should have been 0. Some think it should have been far worse. G. Bush cited a poll on Twitter that said, and there were like 20,000 respondents to this poll, that 77% of the respondents feel that it was too lenient. It doesn't matter at this point. They don't know what Sue knows, and Sue has said 6 games, and so it is. And on that 6 games, I know you've studied the schedule. Where are the Browns coming into week 7 when Deshaun Watson takes the football field as the Browns starting quarterback? What's their record?
4-2.
4-2. Very good.
Maybe even better.
Wow, you're going perhaps 5-1.
I'll tell you what. Tim Couch was supposed to be the savior, but we agree on a couple of things. One, and you've heard me say this before, without Deshaun Watson, they're going to run the football, they're going to stop the run, they're going to play defense and get after the quarterback, and Jacoby Brissett going to make a handful of plays during that process, right? But number one, you got one of the best offensive lines in the world. You got one of the best running games, right? And you got one of the best defenses. That travels. That can play anywhere.
Does travel.
You can play that style of football anywhere. So why should I expect, even if Deshaun Watson was playing, the basis of my decision on where they should be and how they should play has nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. When the Browns are good, when this version of the Browns are good, they run the football, they protect the quarterback, and they get after the quarterback. So, they still have that, right?
All day.
When
All day.
Deshaun Watson comes back, that's a bonus.
Leroy, the plan to win It's three things. You got to play great defense, run the ball, and protect the football. If you do those three things, you should win every game.
Hey,
those is the three things that every football team tells you.
It don't matter who's the quarterback, right? If you have those other things, you can make by. Now, I did say this. It's going to come a point in the game. It's going to come a point in the season. I can't tell you where it's going to be, where you're going to say these words. An elite quarterback would get this done.
Yep.
Now, when that's going to come, I can't tell you. Yeah, because, look, you can play in a lot of close games early on in the year, and you be like, man, that elite quarterback making those one or two throws would have got us over the hump. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that.
It always does.
But you can't control. Look, you can't control when those moments come.
Right.
And that's the great thing about sports and the worst thing about sports, because they always seem to come when you least expect it, right? That one moment during the game, that one situation, you don't know when it's going to come. It might happen in the first quarter. It might happen in the third quarter. I don't know, but you hope that what you have in place can get you over that hump until your guy gets back.
They often happen in the fourth quarter.
Well, I always think that with Jacoby Brissett in there, having that good run game is definitely king. And what it's going to do is it's going to clear things up, because now defenses is going to have to stack the box. Instead of 7, we got to run 8 in the box.
Give him a little more room to throw it.
Right. So Jacoby, some of these passes, depending on how great the run game is, if Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is out there doing that 1-2 punch, the throws for Jacoby Brissett should be pretty easy.
And it's not like this guy is, has no experience in the NFL.
Right, yeah.
He's got enough time under his belt that he should be able to recognize what the defense is giving him and pick it apart.
But I gotta ask you guys a question. Because Leroy just made a point here. We got a great run game. Does Stefanski know this? Right? Because you had to
That's a good question.
Does he know this? Because I got to run the ball now. I got two thoroughbreds in the backfield. He has a tendency to want to throw the ball and get out. I'm going to out-coach you. Yeah. Don't out-coach me. Just run the ball.
He is an aggressive play caller, though.
I've always said this, is that these first 6 weeks are going to be a big test for Kevin Stefanski. Not because of his intelligence, not because his, knowledge about offensive football, but for understanding the team that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Swallow the ego.
Exactly.
And do what you have to do to win a football game.
And my fear, Leroy, and I want to see if this is a fear of yours, and I also want to ask you how Stefanski should split those 12 quarters of preseason football between the two quarterbacks. But before you answer that, my fear on the Stefanski thing is last year he didn't seem to know what he had. And here's why I say that. He had a banged up quarterback that the entire fan base knew was not the guy that they had the year before.
Right.
I'm still concerned that he wasn't the adult in the room and he didn't grab Baker Mayfield by the jersey and say, son, you're sitting down. You're not 100%. You're hurting our football team. So he didn't seem to know that he had a quarterback that could no longer physically perform. And I also question, is he aware that he's got 2 of the top 5 running backs, in my view, in the league?
Yeah.
Does he know that? Mm-hmm. And that's my fear with Kevin.
I'm going to give him the pass on the Baker Mayfield thing for this reason. Coaches sit in the room and they weigh their options, right? Is the backup good as the guy playing injured? They got to make that call.
They didn't look horrible when they played. The backups did not look horrible when they played.
Again, but from the standpoint of the coach, he's making that decision. He's determining that our best option is Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to get mad at him for that.
Okay. No, hey.
But I will say this. You are right from this standpoint. As an offensive coordinator, you go into every game with an idea of what you're going to be able to do or not be able to do. Mm-hmm. Then you make adjustments during the course of a game.
Right.
It would be ridiculous if you didn't run the hell out of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Well,
because one, you need to set the tone for how the Browns are going to play football. Right? This is whoever's at quarterback. You need to know this is how we coming after you. Come get some.
But Leroy, couldn't he have done that? I know you said that he assessed the situation and said a banged up Baker gives us a better chance than the backups did. But couldn't he have also said and made the point that you made, that good defense and a great running game travel?
Yeah.
So couldn't have he said, you know what? We can be better without Baker and a heavy dose of the run with an all-pro type backfield. That's the decision that I felt he could have made, and I would have supported as a fan, and I think everybody would have.
He only had one running back last year.
They were hurt. They were dinged. I understand that, but you still had a healthy Chubb for most of the season.
Did you know Dearness was going to play the way he did?
No, but once he did, I knew that.
Okay, but that was. I mean, I'm more than sure that half of that Brown staff came out of that last game and said, "Look at Lou, look at what we got here." Right?
Yeah, but Leroy, there were also coaches though. There were also coaches that were saying before the Denver game, guys. Yeah. You're not going to see a huge drop-off.
They did say
because
that.
they see him every day in practice, and he is a dancer.
Right.
He makes things happen. And so I know that they did say looky Lou, but going into that game, they also were like, y'all are going to figure out what we've known all year. Amen. This kid can run the ball.
If there's anything that I would hold against Stefanski, and it's not, I love what he does offensively, some of the things that he has to beat a defense with the play action and stuff like that is, I would say that you have to recognize what you have and what are your strengths, and you have to go into the game not overcoaching the situation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For example, if you play Tennessee, what's happening?
They running the ball.
Yeah, you know.
They running the ball.
See Derrick Henry running downhill.
Put your big boy shoulder pads on.
You're going to see Foreman, too. You're going to see Derrick Henry left, Foreman became a monster. Changed his number up looking. I'm like, who is this guy?
But you know what kind of team they are. With the Browns, we know what kind of team they are and what's going to butter their bread. But we don't know if we haven't necessarily leaned on that, like that's the type of team we want to be.
We going with
it's almost like I call it the Brian Billick syndrome. Brian Billick was an offensive guru who went to Baltimore, right? And they went 5 weeks without scoring an offensive touchdown and went like 3-2.
Yeah.
And ended up winning the Super Bowl that year.
And had an all-world defense that he had really very little to do with.
Yes. So as that season went on, he probably said, I got to put my offense in a situation where they don't turn the ball over because that defense is bringing it.
Sure.
Right? You just adjust.
He adjusted.
I would have liked Kevin Stefanski to maybe identify that. And again, a lot of it got lost with the so many injuries that they had to the running backs, to every part of the Browns that you hung your hat on, somebody got broken down, right?
And you had the OBJ drama in the middle of it.
Right. So I'm gonna like, I'm not saying that, he's a terrible coach, he don't make good decisions or whatever. I'm one of those guys that I look at all the situations and wonder, what the hell would I have done here? Yeah. How would we find this guy? How are we going to keep our, because defense towards the end struggle too with the injuries. So you got a fresh start. We know that you got a top 5 quarterback. You got a top tier running game. You got your defense back. So I'm going to let it play out and wish for, an injury-free start to the season. And then Kevin Stefanski will have, a full slate of opportunities where he can use the team and kind of we get a better idea with health of how he works his way through a football season.
Right. Hey, Leroy, I know it wasn't your scheduled day, and you squeezed us in and made time for us. We appreciate that. We thank you for that. We will see you later this week. Thank you very much for your time and your always on point
Don't do
thoughts.
it, Ty. Don't do it.
I was ready.
Don't do it.
Gotcha.
You was about to get him.
I save it.
All right. Later.
All right, bro. Love you. See you soon.
All right.
All right, Leroy.
Let's do a quick reset. It's 11:04. Normally, this is when we're starting our show.
Yeah.
If you're just tuning in and wondering, it looks like I'm joining a party already in progress, you are. We came on today around 9:45-ish, I believe, somewhere in there, because we wanted to get on just as soon as we possibly could to start breaking down and reacting to the news that the NFL now has 3 days to appeal a 6-game suspension that was handed down by the former district judge Sue L. Robinson. In her ruling, she writes that Deshaun Watson exhibited egregious but non-violent sexual behavior. This is that is really about all we know that has leaked from her decision. She obviously has written a decision. I'm sure it's very thorough. I'm sure both camps are combing over that decision right now. I'm a little surprised that more hasn't leaked from either side. We know that the NFL has until Thursday to appeal this decision. We know that the NFLPA will not appeal this decision. And last night, guys, when I saw the tweet that came out that said the NFLPA released a statement saying that they were going to ride or die with this opinion, I had the sense then, and I could be wrong, I had the sense then that someone in that camp knew.
Well, I had said weeks ago that we were talking about leakage. I said they were going to leak this out.
It never leaked.
No. The camps would understand what was going on because you could see the negotiation going on between the sides.
Right.
Here. The other thing you would see here is that the league was looking for 0 games. I mean, the Players Association was looking for 0 games.
Right.
The league was looking for 12. They split the baby.
No, the league was asking for a season.
No, I saw those.
They broke it down
I saw the 12 games and $8 million.
Yeah.
Well, in their argument to Sue L. Robinson, they made the case they asked for 1 year.
So 0 and 12, you get to 6.
Yeah.
Right. That's how you get to 6.
Yeah.
The other thing I would tell you just saw, and Anthony, pull that back up, the other graphic. Yeah. You see where Sue Robinson criticizes the NFL here.
No, not that one.
One more.
Go back one more.
Yeah,
Sue Robinson criticized the NFL for making calls based on public perception,
Right.
which what Leroy was just talking about.
Yep.
Right, because they feel the heat from the outside, and so they're gonna put the screws to somebody else without the facts.
That's a bit. I think that was a presumptive strike because she knows that there's going to be a large swath of the population that is going to scream and cry that this is not just. Ryan Clark went on today and said the league needs to appeal this. They need to look at it. If we have to wait another 6 or 8 weeks, we'll wait, but we want to get it right.
It's all about the facts.
Sue took her time.
You have to discredit the outside. Ryan Clark. Let me tell you something. Because the only people that know, the people that got the discovery. Discovery in the legal case is all the information.
Right.
It was only those few. So I know Ryan Clark didn't have any discovery.
No.
So what are you talking about?
Nor, Brad, do any of the fans that are weighing in on this.
Exactly.
They haven't seen. Here's what I would say. This was in the hands of a competent professional who had risen to the top of her craft. She is well respected. She's had a ridiculously successful career as a district judge for 25 years. She was mutually agreed upon by the NFL and the NFLPA. She has seen everything.
They ain't trying to hear
The
that.
2 grand juries saw everything. We are where we are today because the people that have been privy to the most believe that we're in the right spot. And we have to accept that.
Tyvus, what did you just say?
They ain't trying to hear that.
Who's not trying to hear?
The people that want this lengthy suspension that feel that Deshaun Watson did wrong. They're not trying to hear that. Yeah, the facts is right there, but no, it's so bad that when the story first came out, it sounded so bad that they can't seem to fathom that maybe this wasn't everything that happened.
To Leroy's main thread today, it has to be about the facts. It can't be about public perception. It can't be the court of public opinion.
No.
All of the people that were absolutely skewering the Browns,
Yes.
and Deshaun Watson.
Yes, which were numerous.
My God, I mean, when you go online and you read the comments, it seemed like all of the 31 other fan bases were killing the Browns.
Well,
there was a large segment of the Browns fan base that were killing the Browns.
Speaking of comments, we got some. We got some from YouTube comment in the comments section.
Yeah, and whenever we read comments from the internet, like G's doing, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio, and all locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 an hour and up. Plus, get full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
All right, now Bull's not here. He was going to have a song. I got one. You ready?
Put it on Jay.
You down with PCC? Yeah, you know me. You down with PCC? Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
Got you, boy. I got you, boy.
Grab bag.
You down with PCC? You know me.
Hey, listen. Hey, cut that check, man.
I got to give credit where credit's due. I have to give credit where credit's due. A gentleman that watches the show every day from Columbus, big Tyvis Powell fan.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
He sent that to me on Thursday of last week and said, man, you got to have Bull wrapped to OP instead of OPP. It's got to be you down with PCC.
That's clever.
How ironic.
That's real clever.
I think that's going to stick, too.
Yeah, it will.
Bull, you gotta just coin that and say it every time.
Talk to us. We'll get the copy together. We
You
get
down
that
with
together.
PCC?
Yeah, you know me. By the way, JC comes in and says the Texans had 30 cases swept under the rug in the Midsummer Friday. Deshaun Watson gets an early Monday media gaslighting. Jacob Roberts says second chances. Please, Watson, become a better man. I believe you can be. Eddie Everhart says, I think we see a move for a veteran receiver now, that they know the suspension.
Good point.
Is there.
Who had that comment?
Eddie Everhart.
I like that one a lot.
All three of them
maybe
is great
feel like
comments.
they don't need to trade for another quarterback.
I agree with that, too.
Yes. So now put all your focus. Because G. Bush, last week, you were saying they better be on that phone.
And then we just had another injury.
Another injury.
Isaiah
to
Weston.
For wide we need the wide receiver position got to be addressed.
Drop it like flies.
Marcus Collins says this is another thing that you can't underestimate. A woman, in all capital letters, made the decision.
That's a fact.
Would look very bad if the NFL appealed her decision. And then last one, Marluxia's Cherry Blossoms says, I can't complain. 6 games is rather a relief. I honestly thought Watson could ride the pine for an entire season. Oh, finally, last one, DP Brown 629 says, 6 games is a lot for hearsay.
Yeah. And I think that's what we've been talking about. I also would say this. There are 1,000% things that Sue Heard and the lawyers on both sides are aware of that the public
has no idea.
Currently has no idea of. Now I'm interested to see the level of leaks from the NFL side. Yeah. Because if they feel that there was one piece of evidence that Sue Robinson dismissed or didn't put enough credence in, you may start to see things released from the NFL like Deshaun did this during the massage.
Well, doesn't that go against isn't that the public perception that we're talking about?
Yes.
Like if she's already wrote that it was egregious, but it was nothing illegal.
Right.
Why even beat the dead horse?
The NFL.
You want Deshaun Watson to look that bad?
I think we learned this. That we know that there were 2 camps inside Park Avenue. There was a camp over there that said and leaked, we're okay if it's not a year. Within 24 hours, there was another person, another league source, leaking to Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com. That's very much that's a lie, they said. That is not true. They didn't just dismiss the report. They said that is false. We are not okay with anything less than a year. We're going to find out. So we know that there's a split inside Park Avenue in the offices there. Yeah. And I think Josina had told us that a couple of weeks ago. There is a camp of the NFL team that believes it should be a year. There is another camp within the NFL that believes that it shouldn't. That doesn't surprise us because there's a split everywhere, even within our fan base.
Here's the thing. Here's what we're going to have to do, and I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm flipping the script on this. Like, I've already got the switch. Listen, I understand everybody has an opinion. but I'm ready to disregard a lot of opinions. And let's just be clear. If you think you're smarter than a grand jury, number one, you think you're smarter than 2 grand juries. Now you believe that your opinion is higher than a federal judge who stakes her life, her livelihood, and her reputation on this suspension. And yet and still you get on message boards and you say it's low. I believe. Listen, first of all, you write, you knit sweaters, and you hang out on Facebook and send pictures back and forth.
Yeah.
You people.
You're not a federal judge.
You're not a federal judge. You barely work 40 hours a week. You're sitting up on the internet, chilling, thumb thugging. I don't care. The conversation is through with me. I said it before. And remember, rewind the tape on this. I said if Sue Robinson comes back with 12 games, 14, whatever she came back with prior to this, I was going to sit on it. You know why? You got to take it. Because at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson has some culpability in it. But for all you guys out there that want to jump off the roof with the soapbox of morality, you are not qualified. You don't know anything. You haven't heard the facts. And even when you did get the facts, all of a sudden people was guilty.
The expert has spoken.
The expert spoke. We keeping it moving. And no, we don't care. Write your letters. Send it to the editor. Get up here talking about, I'm going to put 24 on the T-shirt. And some of you media dudes need to stay. It's a couple of y'all. Y'all need to be, you're a little too close to it. Don't start printing no T-shirts with 25 and 26 thinking it's cute. Because at the end of the day, you showing what your true colors are. You are worried about selective justice in this country. And I'm not talking about it no more.
No. And let me just go to this because you made a point that made me think about something. So you had a couple scenarios here. You have 2 grand juries. Now the grand juries are lay people of the public, right? That presented a case of facts in 2 different places in Texas. This is the lay public. So you got 15 people on the grand jury. 15, right? In one city. They come to this conclusion.
They all lie.
Right?
Now, I will say this.
That's the part that's crazy. They're calling everybody liars.
The second city, 15 grand jury.
They liars too.
They liars too.
So we got 30 people lying right
one
now.
More.
Go ahead.
You got the independent arbiter who is not only a judge but a lawyer who that is looking at the facts, right? So you got the lay public has come to this conclusion. The lawyer and the judge now who took the same facts, now they're looking at the same thing.
Who's a woman?
And they come to the same facts.
Yes.
31 liars.
So now everybody's a liar.
31 of them.
I put more credence in Sue L. Robinson's decision than anything, even the grand juries, and here's why. And I know that this was lawyer talk, and he was trying to, make his case. But when Tony Busby, and I didn't like that this unfolded the way it did, but when Tony Busby was on 92.3 a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and Jason Lloyd, who's on our panel on a regular basis, was filling in on the show. He was interviewing Tony Busby. Tony Busby threw a really strong accusation out there that I'm surprised no one has followed up on. But he said that grand juries, prosecutors oftentimes don't present the full case because sometimes they don't want there to be charges brought. And he made the accusation against the Harris County grand jury that the prosecutor didn't want charges handed up in the first place based on the evidence that she decided the grand jury was going to hear. That's a really strong accusation, and I wish somebody would have followed up.
And Tony Busby should have been sanctioned for that nonsense.
Well, I thought that was egregious on his
for
behalf.
that nonsense.
I know Jason said he was going to look into it, and he wanted to get the prosecutor's reaction. I think we had a conversation where he said they just don't want to talk about it. They didn't want to make a comment, or he hadn't followed through yet on checking with the prosecutor in Harris County and the other county where, because there were 2 different counties, 2 different jurisdictions where grand juries were seated.
I'd be interested to see, now that this ruling has come out and Sue Robinson has said what she said, those people that was on the fence, I wonder which side they fell on.
Well, don't you have to now fall on the side of justice is served?
No.
If you were on the fence, but there's because
you would think.
If you're on the fence, that means that you haven't prejudged this case.
Right.
It means you're not pretending that you're law and order prosecutor or attorney. To me, the people that were on the fence were the ones that were the most intelligent all along because they kept saying one thing that was resonating with me.
Let's see the facts.
I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So I want to wait until someone who does know everything and whose job it is to make decisions like this, I want to see what they have to say. And she has spoken.
Jay, how many times have you seen in this country people who get into something and come to a conclusion.
Almost always.
And then they never can break off of it.
They're never going to say I was
And that's
wrong.
sad.
It's like January 6th.
That's sad.
We have the facts now. This is what happened.
Like,
right?
that is
And
really
that did
sad.
not happen
It
today.
almost
did happen.
and that's what I said earlier on the show, that we live in this immediate justifying society. Everybody will read a headline, and based off the headline, they will argue later in the day, oh, he did it. He did it. 24 women can't be wrong.
This fan base shouldn't be split like this. Like, if the decision came out, you got the facts. We all see what it is.
Oh, I think this will unify the fan base.
I'm about to say, like, the fan that said, I'm done with it, I ain't supporting them no more because of this.
Nah,
I don't see why you would have that thought.
Travis, these people out here sometimes, this stuff is baked in now. It's a wrap. I mean, if
see,
you on this camp,
that don't make sense.
I know
to
it
me.
doesn't make sense, but that's what happens out here.
Like, you can say you made a mistake, you was wrong. I didn't have all the facts. I didn't know everything. Now I do. You okay to switch your decision.
People out here that can't do that.
If you see, here's what you would have to do. The gymnastics thing is, if you now have the facts, and in your mind you saying, how could I be this wrong about this? What inside me got me to that conclusion to start with? So
prematurely coming to a decision.
So you have to think and do some self-reflection. Like, do I have some preconceived notions about life, the world, and the way things are?
Yeah.
And people don't want to do that.
How many people in
Why
this world?
not?
How many people in this world can admit that they're actually wrong?
Well, that's the point G. That's the point G. Bush is making.
No,
yeah,
you're
but
one of the
you know
one of the
what?
rarities.
You're an adult and
Right.
you're fair, and I think here if people are fair, they'll just
isn't it time
put it
to
in the
grow
hands
up?
of the judge.
Leroy said it best. I never heard it was dope. He said it. He says, I'm on TV and radio every day. I put my face to it.
Yep.
See, a lot of people when you say something on here,
it's
the
on.
tape is rolling.
Oh, I stand.
You have to, because if you don't, somebody gonna come back. Hey, Tyvis, remember you said this over such and such.
No, I stand on my stuff.
People who are here have to stand on that.
And you know what?
stand
This
on
is
anything
we always
I
talk
say.
about Twitter and how much we put into that. When you get the keyboard warrior who doesn't even have his name and his face on his handle.
A little egg.
It's an egg, or it's a picture of his puppy, or his mom's basement.
Or a spoof.
Look, I don't have any time for that. Or your handle is, yo, I could do it better. Because that's really what they're telling you. What they're telling you is Deshaun Watson isn't any good, or Baker Mayfield isn't any good. I could do it better. Own it. And the one thing, obviously on this show, we have strong opinion. We own it every day. We put our face to it. Our name is attached to it. If we're using social media, it's obvious where it's coming from.
Let's go to the video.
That's why what I say is, if you want to have these strong hot takes and you think you could be Stephen A. Smith, cool. Who are you?
Put your face to it.
What do you look like?
Get on the camera. And say that.
No. Where do you reside?
I don't need to go that far. Because I ain't about putting my address out there.
But they know.
But I do want to know. I do want to know.
There are means to find where you live.
Yeah, but that's nonsense. And
That's what they do, though.
But I don't want to, look, I would like to know if you're from Pittsburgh or Cleveland.
Right.
That's a
because
fact.
I think that opinion comes with weight.
It does.
And it's funny now how all the Pittsburgh, I don't want to say all because that would be unfair.
Yes.
You will hear a number of Pittsburgh fans. That's why I was disappointed with Ryan Clark, who I worked with for years and I love as a person.
Come on, Ryan.
He's an awesome dude. I can't say enough good things about Ryan Clark. I was a little disappointed today when he was saying, well, the comments were texted to me from another former coworker at ESPN said, man, your boy's killing the Browns. And so you got to be careful. We looked at it. We heard his comments. His comments were much more measured than they were told to me.
Did he make these comments before the ruling came
No,
out?
after. It was in response. It was on Get Up today.
What did he say?
He basically thought it was light.
What he said was, he did say that I think it's light, but he also said, what's the hurry here? And I don't think there was a hurry. All the other fans are saying, what the hell's taking so long?
It took a long time.
So I don't think it was in a hurry, but I think what he was saying is the league needs to appeal, because if it takes an extra 8 weeks to figure out if there were women that were sexually assaulted in any way, then we need to get this right. I don't know how an extra 8 weeks is going to help us get to that.
Ryan Clark, this is why I disagree with you, Jay, on this. Not with you, but with Ryan Clark.
Right.
You have no discovery. You have no facts.
Yes, well, we said that earlier.
The people that have the facts.
And
right?
she did not rush through this.
They have the
Not
facts.
at all.
So how do you sit in the studio
and say we need
than
more
this person?
time?
Maybe
we need more time to get to the decision that you think that you want.
Maybe we
as
need,
a Steelers guy.
I think it's a trust thing. He just don't trust that she would make the right
was he
decision.
screaming this when Ben Roethlisberger was?
Yeah, don't make me cuss on TV.
When Ben was his teammate. And Ben was going through the same thing. I don't ever remember hearing Ryan Clark say, "What's the rush? Why don't we look at this further until we get to a decision that I think is fair and just?"
And I won't even go to that, right? I'm just saying, it's asinine for you to be sitting up in here when you have nothing but with your little clips from Twitter or from the internet, right? And this leak, that leak. Somebody has all the discovery, right?
Sue L. Robinson
has all of it.
And this is what she has said. And smart people will say,
why don't you just trust that? That's what it is.
You can't swim in that.
See, in America, we validate every. I'm sorry, everybody shouldn't have an opinion. But one person that should have an opinion is Mikey McNuggets. Where are you at?
Mike, welcome to the program. I hope you're feeling okay, brother.
Mikey!
That's like how you did that.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing today?
Good, man.
How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm just waiting for some test results to come back.
What's up with your hair, though?
Well, now wait. We can take that a million different ways.
Wait, hair.
What's up with this, bro?
What you?
Bruh, get it together.
You gotta swipe aside.
A little dehydrated.
You
gotta put some juice up in there and spray it.
Texas curl going on there, boy.
McNuggets, you look great. You look great. Read your sponsor, Reed, and I hope you're feeling okay.
Yeah, so today's a little bit different, guys. Roundstone's going to be sponsoring Mike calling in for us. So, Roundstone Insurance offers a better alternative for affordable and quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money on average of 20%. 20%. Contact them today to learn how you can get a great health care benefits that your employees will love and save money too.
I gave my PCC, yeah, you know me. Anybody want to fill in for Bull and sing a little song here?
I gave him the Roundstone. You got to go, Tyvis.
What do you got?
This is your check. Roundstone, 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 Roundstone.
All right, there we go. All right, yeah, that was on the top.
Good job, Ty. All right, McNuggets. What do you want to take us through here? Let's. What's on your mind when it comes to the news of the day?
Well, first off, I noticed my hair. You're right. The Texas heat did wonders and terrors. I didn't even notice till I saw myself on camera. So I apologize for that.
That's all right.
You're looking fine.
But the Watson news coming out this morning, of course, it's a day where we had a little tech issue getting up. I'm not in studio at the moment, but I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask you guys.
Shoot from the hip.
Let's go.
Shoot from the hip.
All right, let's go with the first one. Do you think Roger Goodell slept last night?
Oh, I think he slept quite well. I think he sleeps well every night. He gets a nice check. He sleeps very well every night.
What's he make? $40 million a year?
Crazy.
$40 million a year.
I don't think
he make $40 million a year.
Mikey, I don't think he missed a wink.
Oh, he slept good. $40 million?
I think
Sleeping on that number bed.
I actually seriously, I think he's kind of pushed this off on somebody else. I think when the process started, he has a liaison between himself and the judge.
Couple minions.
So they're briefing him on anything crazy. If she says, I think he would have been notified if it was 0 games. Right. But anything after 0, he was like, all right, well, cool.
So the minions have it?
Yes, they got
that.
I agree with that statement, actually.
What else you got, Mike?
So Deshaun Watson, when he comes back in week 7, it'll be almost 2 full years since the last time he played. Tyvis, I want you to start with this.
Ooh.
How long is it going to take him to get back into game shape if he can't practice up until week 4?
Well, good thing is he'll be able to come back after week 3. So those 3 weeks, technically it only takes you a week. He's young. You know, I got grilled last week because I'm 28, so it only takes. He's young, so it only takes him a week. He's a quarterback, so it doesn't take that long. I think he'll be definitely training for those 3 weeks that he won't be with the Browns. So when he comes back, he'll be so motivated that he'll probably already be in shape. I think it's just all about the timing, which he'll come with those next 3 weeks. I think when we get to the Baltimore game, he should be clicking on all cylinders.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. One of my favorite shows is Dragon Ball Z. And one of the things that happened in Dragon Ball Z is the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yes, sir.
See,
You think he's going in?
Come on now.
He's been in the chamber. He's been meditating.
He's coming Super Saiyan, huh?
He's coming out.
Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan grade 2. Teen Gohan. Not the older Gohan. We like Teen Gohan to yourself.
Yes, sir.
He's going to be pumped. He's going to be ready to go. And one thing that people forget about him, when you talk about him on a whiteboard and talk about how he diagram and talk about the game, this dude is a genius level savant when it comes to explaining what he's seeing. So you already know he's getting his mental reps together. I think he's going to come out there. Now, I'm a little scared if he wants to take off and run. There's hamstrings involved, and you ain't been really moving that game speed like that. But as far as him throwing the football, I think he don't miss nothing.
So do you think he's going to head to – because the week says he's off from being around.
He's going to head somewhere.
Is he going to head down back to Clemson?
I don't know. I don't know what he will do.
See, because I would go back to a place where I'm not going to get no smoke, right?
Right.
And somebody's going to work me in here. They're going to keep me in shape here.
Well, Clemson's in season, too.
And he can't work out with them.
Clemson's in season.
He can't. Their season's going on, too.
But in the facility, he has access to the facility.
What's the thing? When you that high profile of an athlete, there's a bunch of facilities you could go to.
And I would think he would want to be.
Kind of stuff.
I think he'd want to be off grid.
Yeah.
I don't think if he shows up at Clemson, guys are going to have their phones. Guys are going to. If I'm Deshaun, I figure out a place to go where you're going to be in relative isolation. Get a couple of wide receivers that are recently retired. Continue throwing the ball. Stay fit. Stay into physical shape. I don't think that's going to hurt the Browns at all. In fact, look at it this way. In week 16 and 17, when playoff fortunes start to be forged, he's only going to be in week 11 and 12.
Right.
And that can be a huge advantage to the Browns down the road.
And by the way, pull that Ben Roethlisberger. You need to announce your engagement. You need to fast track that. You need to get married.
Right.
And
Settle down.
And be like, yo, I'm a family guy. I ain't talking about this no more. That's disrespectful. And guess what? Don't be nowhere. He need to be about for 3 years. The only time they should see him is in church.
Handing out checks.
That's it.
I'm giving this to this foundation.
Canned goods.
Yeah. I want to see a lot of toys and canned goods.
Toys for Tots, St. Jude, some really food bank.
Christmas come around, he got all toys for all the kids.
Go see the mayor for Warrensville Heights. Come on out here. There's a couple things you could be doing in the community down there, Sean. Come on now, we got the plug.
We'll put you to work.
We'll put you to work down there. Come on now.
McNuggets, what's next?
Is there a better 6-game stretch on the entire schedule for Watson to miss if he had to miss?
Nope.
6 games?
No, absolutely not.
I've looked at the same thing.
Absolutely
now,
not.
I don't love games 5 and 6.
That's fine.
But I love games 1 through 4.
You better be circling them 4 right there.
Yep.
Those are the ones.
I got to get wins.
I continue to say, man, the way that schedule looks,
I would tell you,
it looked like the NFL had something to do with it.
If they go 0-2 on the first one.
Don't even
I'm just
say
saying
that.
I'm just saying.
Because then you're looking at 2 and 4. And by the way, if they go 0-2, they're not a very good football team.
Right.
Because those are such winnable games.
Who panics?
You cannot go 0-2 to start.
I would panic because that, to me, those first 2 games against those 2 teams are squarely on the coaching staff. They're not on the player. You got to tell me. Because by talent-wise, they are light years.
They better
above
blow those teams off the field.
They are light years above the Jets with all them rookies starting. So I would look and panic and say, well, you can win 3. Like, you may not be able to win, like Leroy said. You may not be able to win the Super Bowl running the ball at the level that they need to run the ball without Deshaun Watson. But here's the thing. Can you win 4 or 5 games with that during the season?
I was on Carolina little Twitter space and little internet space down there.
Yeah.
They think they come to smoke Cleveland.
No, they better think that.
They absolutely believe that they're
I'm
going to
not talking about the players.
No, the fans. The fan base.
They smoke Cleveland.
You know how we play this game? Well, that's a win. That's a loss. That's going to be a win. They're doing the same thing in Carolina, and they're saying this. No Deshaun Watson, that's a win. Baker Mayfield with a chip on his shoulder, that's a win.
What stat did they post the other day? The Browns are 1-18 and 1 over the last.
They haven't won a season opener, I believe, in 18 years.
Yeah, I think
it's something like that.
2004, right?
It's something. It's something.
I think Nixon was president the last time we won Week 1.
They had
Jimmy Carter.
It feels like it.
Nobody's business. They had it posted like nobody's business.
No, I know. Yeah, our struggles in Week 1 are well documented. I remember a couple of years ago we opened against Tennessee. Super Bowl talk that
yeah.
year. You talk about dropping an egg.
Oh, yeah.
Now that was on the coaching staff. That was all coaching staff.
Hey,
the
that's
players
what-
gave up in that game.
Listen, they came out after that game and dropped they are who we thought they were.
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
exactly
they
right.
disrespected us.
Bacon threw 3 picks.
It was
it was
awful.
bad.
It was
bad.
awful. McNuggets, what's next?
2 more. How do you think Kevin Stefanski celebrated the news this morning?
I think he was relieved.
To at least finally know.
To know. I think he's like the rest of us. Like, I just want
But they're all still holding their breath on an appeal.
Yeah,
Because you
but
can't really exhale until the league comes out and says, no appeal, we accept it, let's play football.
yeah, but now he in his mind he shift gears. Now I gotta go out here and earn this money. Let me go out here and get this quarterback ready.
He knows
for these
he's
6
under the
games.
gun, doesn't he?
It's no excuse. Last year we was in close games where it hurt Baker Mayfield. My quarterback is healthy. I got a healthy run game. I got a good running game. Got some good weapons. I got to go out here and earn this money for 6 weeks until Deshaun comes back.
The official clock started with him this morning.
So it's ticking. The seat warmer is on.
I'm like, you better,
I'm telling you right now.
It's on 1 now.
Right,
and we're going to 2. Then it's going
No,
to 3.
let's hope we beat Carolina 35-0 and they turn it over.
Because they got enough on the team where you can seemingly say, well, I leaned on my run game one game. I got about 120 from each of my running my backs. Then you can say, you know what, my defense kept me in it. We got a couple turnovers. Then one game, Myles Garrett just wrecked the whole thing. There was a close game. I made a couple adjustments in the second half. Our
Maybe
special
even
teams,
Jacoby makes a play.
Jacoby makes a play. You can line it up where you got 5 different ways where you got enough talent that you can win it 5 different ways.
And you looking at that schedule, you like, listen to me. I can pull forward at least 4. I can trick and out scheme at least for 4 games. That's all I need.
If I'm Stefanski, I walk into the training camp and in the practice facility every day when I see Chubb. First thing I see when I see Chubb, you thirsty? then I turn over to Hunt. This is out of Chubb.
Right.
You thirsty? Because I'm coming your way.
You know the meme
that
comes to mind for me? Remember that it's a meme of Vince McMahon walking down the runway and he's all got full swagger? That's the way I think. That's the way I think Stefanski and even Deshaun Watson walked into the building today.
Because if I'm Brissett, all I gotta do is practice this. I'm giving it to you.
And y'all will know this. You know, it's just like you play. We all done play spades at the cookout, right? We playing spades, right?
Come on now, don't do that.
Now,
You say
if
the
I'm
good
looking
ones
at my
for last.
hand and we playing, you say, G. Bush, how many books you got?
I got 4 in the
I'm
pocket.
5 in the
I got
box.
5 possible, right? Because you looking at it like, well,
There it is,
I'm
Jay.
counting.
There you go. Look.
There
There
it is. Look,
That's Stefanski walking into the building today.
Nick Chubb is the big joker. You got Myles Garrett. He the little joker.
Good job,
Kareem
Anthony.
Hunt is that ace of spades.
got the deuce
You got
spade.
you got the deuce and the king.
What's the card on my forehead though? I'm like, I'm holding it. I'm holding this puppy.
And then you
Is that
talk
Watson?
You talk to your partner and you say,
What you got?
What you got? I got about 4. Oh, we going 13 then.
He looked at Joe Woods and said, "What you got?" He said, "I got Miles, Jadavion, J3,
All Trump.
Denzel,
All
G.
Trump.
New, Jock. Oh, we got 6 in the possible."
How about when you playing the card, you hold that card like you come
I told
play
you,
it,
you're
put it
waiting to
down.
throw it.
Put it down here.
Throw them hearts up
Put it
there.
Guys,
down
we
here.
cut hearts.
Guys, kickoff. Well, this is exciting. We open the preseason next Friday.
Yeah.
So that when you put it in those terms, you're like,
Hall of
oh,
Fame
we're
game
close.
this week.
We're close. And then you know how rapid fire the preseason goes, especially with
man.
3 games now. I just wish we could hit the fast forward button. And it could be 1 o'clock on Sunday, on the 11th or the 10th, whatever the day we are at Carolina. I want to be there right now.
Jay, does Watson get the start?
I started the first game.
I don't
You
know.
talking about in the
That's-
preseason?
It's
Does
really
he get the
interesting to
start?
see
Yeah.
how that
Does he
happens.
get
This
the
is
start?
this the thing about that
might
though.
be-
Yo, how we talking about splitting it up? Like, yeah, we want to get Jacoby Brissett a lot of reps, but I'm not putting Deshaun Watson behind the second team line.
See, no, he's got to play
He
with the
gotta be
ones.
protected,
But you know
yeah.
what? Now you're asking a lot of your ones because you got Jacoby has to get some one time too.
That's true. You know what I would do? I give him 1 or 2 series a game.
That's it.
1 or 2 series
For
Deshaun. One or
I
two.
like that.
One
He
or 2
gonna
series.
play 2 series every game.
Yeah, every game.
I
1 or
will
2
say
series.
this: Jim Donovan, he's been the voice of the Browns forever.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you haven't read it, Terry Pluto wrote an incredible piece on Jim Donovan, voice of the Browns. Okay. Check it out online and read it. It's really well written. Jim's one of the best in the business. He's usually I would say he has a tepid enthusiasm. Yeah, I've seen him, like all of us, take bait and think that it's going to be a playoff season when we've ended up 5-11. But usually a lot of things have to happen. But Jim usually calls it the way he sees it.
Okay.
And we were talking at the end of last week, and I said, what's your biggest takeaway from what you're seeing? And he goes, Deshaun Watson is amazing. Incredible. Now, this is the voice of the Browns, and he's flat saying it is amazing how much different this offense looks with him at the point. And so when Jim is telling me that, I know it's real. And if that's the case, maybe you're right. Maybe he gets a series of 2, maybe a quarter in 2 or 3 of the preseason games. Because if he's already looking sharp in what little bit of time he's been in this offense, that tells me the 21 months of rest, there's been no rust. He can still throw the football. He's throwing it downhill. He stands tall in the pocket. He's able to throw the quick crossings on a downward slant instead of Baker looking over people and throwing them upwards.
And you know what, Jay? And we'll get McNuggets back here really quickly. You know what the best way, what Deshaun Watson has going for him is his play on the field. And the Cleveland Browns want to give him a nice start. And the best way to do that is to get him out there in front of the fans and say, look how good this guy is.
Did you see the reaction he got when he ran out on the field
that,
for their first for the first outside practice where there were fans? They went nuts.
Yeah, but did you see the report in the paper? You get 2 reports. The first one, he got a lukewarm reception.
I saw the video.
I saw
the video. That was not lukewarm.
No, but you need to see the video. But I'm saying people put it out in the atmosphere. Oh, he got a lukewarm.
Yeah,
I said, what are you talking about?
Lukewarm.
That is why it's important for him to feel good about the fans being behind him and to get a concrete, hey, we happy you here. This is what you got to look for.
Right.
Tell him to come out to Warrensville. We'll get him some work.
I think those joint practices, he should get a lot of reps in those practices. Because in the game, preseason games is all vanilla. They're not calling nothing special. Right. It's just about
and the way the teams have addressed this 3-game preseason, we saw last year was a trend. Belichick barely used anybody, and it's a copycat league. And a lot of teams look at see what's Bill doing. Bill's not playing anybody. Oh, well, that must be the smartest thing to do. Stefanski didn't play it hard. I mean, last year in the preseason, my worry was these dudes aren't going to be ready.
I remember that.
Any time in the preseason. So we'll see.
Mikey.
McNuggets, one more question.
Yeah, before this last question, though, I just got to say, hearing you guys call me McNuggets seems so normal, but I was in Texas for the wedding this weekend, and a couple people called me McNuggets, and it's weird when it's not this group. It's like,
you feel a certain way?
Hey, it's stuck, though. That's a good nickname.
It sucked. There was a girl I hadn't seen in a while, a pretty attractive girl, and she called me McNuggets, and I did like a triple take and was like, I don't know if I like it when it comes from you.
Yeah,
all depends on what you're looking like. You call me anything you want to.
Just don't call me and tell me it's over.
Right.
I had to put a kibosh on the female McNuggets calling pretty quickly. But all right, last question as we run through this. Deshaun Watson comes back in Week 7, so I'm going to read you guys a schedule from Week 7 to Week 17. Just one word, win or loss through these games. You guys ready?
Yep.
Week 7 at Baltimore with Deshaun Watson. The Browns
win.
Loss.
Oh, I think it's a loss.
I got to win.
I think their adrenaline as a team is going to be through the
It's at Baltimore.
So will Baltimore's defense.
Baltimore's will too.
Now we going
Baltimore's
back.
defense isn't what it used to be.
We're going back to what
Did you see what they drafted?
They're okay. They drafted. Unproven.
You got a point.
Here, let me tell you. Either you have horses or you don't. And if I have horses, when I hit the road, they still horses. They still
no matter
horses.
where you are.
No matter where I am.
You know Baltimore got a quarterback
I
that's
don't care
trying
though.
to get paid.
I said here, when the Bulls walked into the place, we didn't care where it was.
No, I know.
We didn't care.
What
We
about
had
so
horses.
what about the next game? Nuggets. The next
Oh,
one
this
is
Halloween.
We're going through Monday Night Football,
Halloween.
Deshaun's home opener against the Cincinnati Bengals on Halloween.
Win.
That's a dub.
That's a dub.
Halloween.
Okay.
Woo!
Hey, I need
the
to get a
Muni
ticket.
lot's going to be pumping by 10 a.m. It's Halloween.
Woo!
Look out.
Hey, if I was at my old, I forgot I do this for a living. I was like, I gotta call off work. I said, hold on.
I might have to.
What are you doing?
I got to tap in. I got to tap in with Giselle and Sheldon. I need a
Week 9.
ticket.
Who do they have week
Week
9?
9's a bye. Week 10 at Miami.
Oh, come on. That's
a dub.
That's a smoke
easy
show.
dub.
That's a dub.
That's an easy
It's
dub.
hot. Yeah.
Week 11 at Buffalo.
That's an L.
That's tough.
That's an
tough
L.
right there.
Yeah, that's an L.
That's tough.
I think it's gonna be closer than
Week
people
12,
think.
Tom Brady in town.
I think that's an L.
I think that's a dub.
I think they lose the Buffalo win in Tampa. Bay.
Yeah, they're gonna win
All
in
right.
Tampa.
Week 13.
Dub.
100-0.
Dub. Next
100-0.
game.
That's a win.
Not even
Deshaun
close.
Watson throws for 10 touchdowns and runs for 5.
I ain't even answering that game. You know what it is.
Shit, how many pickers gonna be
Week
there?
14, they travel to Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's an L.
That might be an L.
That's an L.
That's
I'll
tough
give that
down
an
there.
L on that.
I
Stefanski
think-
is undefeated.
I think Deshaun Watson is rolling at that point. He got now. You start to see where delete takes over.
Yeah.
Now there's different things in the playbook.
So they
You're like,
sweeping.
whoa.
So they sweeping Cincy again.
Yeah.
3 consecutive years.
Yeah.
Next week,
Home against Baltimore.
Oh, that's a
They
dub.
win that.
That's
a
dub.
win.
A dub.
Home against New Orleans.
win.
That's a dub too.
New Orleans.
Yeah, that's a
Look,
win.
New Orleans got a great defense, man, and they got some weapons that they're. If Mike is back and Olave cooking,
Well, Mike will be back by then.
I don't know.
All right, what's next?
He going to Ohio State.
I'm sorry.
I got you. I understand what you're doing, but it ain't happening.
At Washington.
Dub.
Win.
That's a dub.
That to me, that's a trap game.
At Washington,
Yeah.
that could be.
That's because
That could
the
be-
Browns have never traditionally
be
played
tricky.
well in Washington. Washington has some pass rush ability. They got a nice defensive line.
They got a great defense.
I'm about to say
They got a star receiver.
You got to score points to win.
Star receiver. What's his name?
Terry McLaurin. Go Bucks.
And he was a guy that wasn't even supposed to be doing nothing. He was supposed to be a fringe. I'm making practice.
So
squad.
Carson Wentz is the guy.
Oh, Carson Wentz is quarterback.
Okay.
Landslide.
Mike, who's next? Who's next,
And
Mike?
last one, we end the season at Pittsburgh.
Win.
Yeah. We're going to get all that. We're gonna
You know
get
what?
We're going to get all this smoke. I'm going to get all this smoke.
That's terrible.
Here's the problem.
Lay aside.
One of us has them winning every single game.
Who? You?
One of us. No. There was at least one person on this panel
Yeah.
that said they would win every single game after week 6.
There was a chance. You saying that
In other words,
somebody
there was no unanimous LLLL.
No. There's no more of that with Deshaun Watson. I think
No. Yeah, that's out.
It's debatable
Yeah, when you have,
every game.
When you have an elite player, you're in the game. Then you have other studs around the elite player. You in the game. We should be in every freaking game.
Yeah,
and if it's not,
we will be if they address the wide
If we're not
receivers.
motivated to be in every game, I gotta look somewhere else.
Well,
I'm looking in that.
The
I'm looking
motivation
outside.
thing should never be a question.
No.
If they're not motivated, that goes to the coach.
I think coming out of the gates, that defense is gonna carry this.
The one thing that I'm concerned about is injuries, and you starting to see that. I said it last week.
Here you go.
I said you sitting around here. We should not be walking into camp in the first 2 days and people falling down.
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's different.
But they happen, man. Ty, you know,
it happens
NFL
every-
training camps
every
got
training camp
healthy
is-
guys get hurt. It's sometimes when there's a lot of them, you look at the training staff and
that's
say, "What are y'all
exactly what
doing?"
they do.
But it's a
Here,
contact
let
sport,
me say something.
and injuries happen.
Training camps are going on for decades.
And-
I've never seen people falling out like this.
Oh
right?
no, no,
Whoa,
no,
you ain't been with San Francisco
no,
because we
that's
had
not
the
true.
largest IR list.
Not by people
No.
who are in the mix. I don't see it.
Man,
No.
I don't
you
say
better,
that. I
you
don't
better
say
go
that. I
look
don't
at
say-
San
You
Francisco.
have a short memory.
I don't say
crazy.
it on
The
crazy
Ravens-
during the year.
Hey,
Ravens-
last year the
crazy.
Ravens
Ravens
had
had-
two running backs tear their ACLs in camp.
And 2 days apart.
And what happened to him?
Jimmy Smith.
They were out.
And what happened to him?
They was out.
We're not arguing what happened to them, but you're saying that
hot
you've never
garbage.
seen anybody. Yeah,
Hot garbage.
but you're saying you've never seen injuries like this. I mean, G. Bush.
I don't know. There's been injuries.
Oh,
Like,
my
these-
goodness.
No,
This happens
saying-
every
there was a
year.
year I
This
was
is
in
an every year
Tampa.
thing.
I'm not saying there's not injuries. I'm saying you don't have injuries to people who are contenders down the stretch.
Well,
you just don't.
I'll tell you, when I was one of the 5 years I worked in Tampa, they were training at Disney. 9 of the first 11 days of camp, they lost a starter
Who was the quarterback?
who was not going to be ready for opening day. So it wasn't like a
So who
nick
was
and
on
a
the
ding.
team?
Well, they won the Super Bowl.
That where Brady was there?
No. This was 98 to 03. So Brad Johnson was the quarterback. They won a Super Bowl. I mean, this was an elite roster. But for whatever reason, when camp started, and these guys were in shape, Gruden and
Dehydrated.
Dungy were both sticklers for conditioning. It just happens. It's a gladiator sport. They've been in mothballs for a period of time. You know how it is. When you come back to start a season, particularly when you're older, things start hurting that never hurt before.
But that's why you stair-step it, right?
And look, they're paid to do that. I hope that McNuggets feel better. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I'll be back tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, no, was it your best hair day? No, but it wasn't egregious.
No, it was all right.
It was fine.
And I promise the viewers out there, tomorrow my hair will be flawless.
I'm gonna bring you I'm gonna bring you some.
Get that product in there.
Hey, Mikey,
you gotta put that spray in there.
I'm gonna bring you some Prel.
No,
You'll be all right.
You're fine.
You need some fluids.
All right,
bro.
we've been on 2 hours. We've been on 2 hours. We're going to do final takes. You're in Adam the Bull's chair, so Ty, you get to start.
I gotta wait for it.
Ooh, the drama's building.
Yeah.
Y'all is hilarious. So today my message is basically be where your feet are. You know, it was one thing that I learned when I was in college. You know, obviously, break coming up, and you ready to you are so focused on getting to that thing that you forget to handle what's going on right in front of you. You know, me being in this new media profession, a lot of people oftentimes tell me, oh, you should be doing something bigger than that. Oh, you should be on TV, Big Ten, ESPN, all those guys you should be focused on that. And my message this whole year has been, I'm going to be where my feet is. How can I be the best me of doing this if I'm focused on other things? So today my message is to always be grateful and be appreciative of what you already have and stop focusing on what you don't have.
Well said.
It is. And that is brought to you by the best beard in the game.
Put a little stuff in there today. I did.
Got some sparkle to
it.
Brad, what you got?
All right, so let me go to this, and obviously Deshaun Watson is on this city's mind and the sports world mind, but I'm on something different here. Yesterday we lost a great iconic person, player in Bill Russell.
Yes, we did.
And I'm not here to talk about basketball and sports. Bill Russell was just a quality human being that was at the forefront of many things out here when it comes to civil rights and public engagement, community development, making sure that he carved out a pathway for others to come behind him. In today's age, that kind of gets lost out here, except for a certain few. There is a responsibility that you have, I feel, as a person that has a voice, that has a chance to make change out here. And Bill Russell, he lived that way. He showed the light to many folks and still delivered in the sports world at a high level. But he also delivered in his community at a high level. And that is not to be forgotten, undersold, or undervalued. And sometimes when you start thinking about and talking about the best players in the history of the NBA, Bill Russell should be on the Mount Rushmore of that discussion. But a lot of times he's left out because he wasn't the most sexiest guy. He was just a guy that knew how to win. And he also understood not winning, but not just winning on the floor, but winning in life and making sure that others had a chance to win. And he was willing to put his money and money and power behind his actions here. He stood in places in the gaps where people were afraid to step in the gap. So here's my salute to you, Bill Russell, because it is for people like you that allow me to do the things that I do every day and keep me encouraged, because there are many folks out here that don't want you to be successful. But we want to make sure that the other masses that come behind us have a chance to be successful. So here's to you. Rest in peace, big fella.
11 rings?
Salute.
Man, one of the best to ever do it.
It'll never get touched. Nobody will ever be done.
Down there, see that.
And that's why he should be in the GOAT conversation.
Absolutely.
You know what? I want to go. This just sparked in my mind. I think we saw that the bottom line. Sue Robinson said that in her brief, in her decision, that she was upset that the NFL was using public sentiment in order to deliver some sort of ruling or suspension on Deshaun Watson. And I want to congratulate her, because at the end of the day, a lot of Browns fans would have liked 0 games. But at the end of the day, they accepted 6 based on your integrity and the way you handled this case. There's a lot of individuals that are run around and say, well, this is a travesty or this needs to be changed. But the reality of the situation is, nowadays in our country, the only thing that matters is who jumps up on the table and screams the loudest and the longest. Facts don't matter. We got people out here all outlawing textbooks because they don't like the ugly history and past of what our country has done in some cases. At the end of the day, the only thing that anybody can ask for is truth. And truth doesn't necessarily mean the majority of the people think one way or the majority of people think one way. The truth lies where the truth is. Sometimes you read the truth and it takes you to a certain place. In this case, the verdict came and the truth took her to her 6-game suspension. You have to ask yourself as you move throughout your regular days and we sustain and go back to our work and we finish what we're doing and Deshaun Watson, his case fades out of the public specter. We have to understand, you have to ask the individuals that are upset and wanted more than 6 games, what exactly is your motive for that? What exactly are you reading? What exactly and where do you get lifetime bans and 1-year bans from? And sometimes you'll come to the conclusion that those individuals have a lot of stuff that they've been sitting on for a lot of years. Take it with a grain of salt. Move on with your life and continue to move, because at the end of the day, Sue Robinson knew the facts. She got it done. And at the end of the day, both Deshaun Watson and the public have to deal with 6 games.
Yeah, mine is very similar. There's a saying, if you know, you know. And in this case, there was one person that knew everything, and that was Sue L. Robinson. She was given all of the evidence. She asked for briefs. She carefully weighed all of the evidence, and she came up with the conclusion that there was a pattern of egregious but non-violent behavior. My hope is we get to read the entire brief. We get to read her decision, because I think within that decision, she will speak to why she made the decision that she made. People that are saying he got off easy, he is not walking free here. He has a tarnish on his name. He's been suspended by the league for 6 games for his conduct. So he's not walking out of this without stain. When we see the decision, we may learn more about what really happened in these massage meetings. When we do, we then have a license to speak more informed than we have been up to this point. There have been a lot of absolutes that I've read online, even in the media, which was a little disappointing to me to see that media members who are supposed to hold their fire until they have all the facts, in some cases that didn't happen. That was a little disappointing to me, because journalism, by my definition, is telling of stories as they exist, not as we want them to be. And sometimes narrative crept into not only our personal opinion, but to coverage of this story. And that's not fair to Deshaun Watson. At the end of the day, the record will show he's being suspended for 6 games for his conduct. But also, moving forward, my hope is that the public learns something from this too. We don't know. None of us know. Sue L. Robinson knows, and she has spoken. It's up to us now to accept it, to learn from it, and to move on. Hold your fire. Sometimes when you fire prematurely, you might hit yourself.
Well said.
Self-inflicted.
You might hit yourself.
And I'll say the other thing that, to your point, he got, 24 settlements he's paying out on?
Yeah.
23.
23.
With 1 pending.
Right. That he's going to pay out on?
Yeah.
So there's more. So
Yeah. And it would be interesting to see what happens with that 24th. Obviously, there is one woman, and I think I know who it is.
Yeah, I think
I think we all probably agree that it's the first woman that was presented in the Real Sports expose.
Right.
She was egregious. You could
tell.
She was believable. We all can guess what we think happened. She believes that his behavior crossed a line. Ultimately, it will be up to a jury to decide whether or not she was, and if so, what that is worth monetarily. But she has not settled. The other 23 have. He's had to write checks for this. So there has been a financial punishment to all of this too. What happens with this final case, we may have to wait until next March to figure that out, because obviously there's been a stay on any court proceedings until after this season is over. But the decision is out. It's up to us now to accept it, live with it, move on. And let me proclaim right now, Are you ready for some football? Because I am. I am so done with the talk and the legalese.
Let's go.
Next Friday, the Browns open the preseason, and then
a little taste on Hall of Fame game this week. Don't have nothing
That's
to do
right.
with the Browns.
That's right.
For me, that's when football.
Yeah, that is.
Because when you in camp in college, you know the Hall of Fame game. You just be able to buy your first 2 or 3 days.
Yep.
And then you know Hall of Fame
Here
game coming, and these college games gonna start ramping up.
The door opens with that,
Yeah.
and the door closes at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not the Pro Bowl for me. I've always said after the Super Bowl, season's over. All right, we're done. Little reminder here, if you're watching us, why are we ending at noon? We've been on over 2 hours. We came on about 9:45. So if you want, click back, enjoy the whole show in its entirety. And we will be back tomorrow, 23 hours from right now. Have a great day. And thanks for watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And wow, what a great way to end the show. One of the greatest to ever do it, Bill Russell. Rest in peace.